spirals.
You see this math everywhere.
Welcome back to the Gnostic Informant, and you are about to attain true gnosis. And today, we're gonna do something more like a shallow dive. I want to say, not a deep dive, but a shallow, surface level dive into some of these Renaissance architects. But there is one in particular that I want to do a deep dive on, and that is Plethon. So when I get to Plethon, I have a whole slideshow that I actually am going to read, that was done by a scholar who is John Upsapos, PhD. He put together a slideshow that's public online. And so I just wanted to go through some of his slides. He's got some interesting stuff about Plethon, what his beliefs were, all that stuff. His relationship to Medici, his relationship to the Florentine Renaissance, and that type of thing. So we're going to get into that. Ask me, you guys drop a super chat, ask me any question you want. This is kind of just like a study stream, if that makes sense. So, and make sure can you guys hear me good, by the way? I have a different microphone set up right now. Just make sure you can hear me good. Let me know if my volume's high, all that stuff. I'm looking at the chat. And yeah, so I want to start off before I get to Plethon and Plethon's students. The names that you see in the title of the video, which is Plethon, Cardinal Bessarion, Patriarch Gennadius, Medici, and the Borgia Pope. Those are all post Plethon. So those are all people who are benefiting, in my opinion, or okay, 3 of them are students of Plethon. So Bessarion's a student of Plethon, Gennadius is a student of Plethon, and Medici also is a student of Plethon. The Borgia Pope was not, but the Borgia Pope, in my opinion, inherited or continued and helped out the process that was started by Plethon, even though he was the Pope of the Catholic Church. I would say he's a crypto-pagan, and a lot of people agree with me. There are records from people in his court that he was having orgies and shit, and having prostitutes and all types of crazy shit going on in the Vatican during the Borgia Pope. His daughter Lucretia was a very interesting character. She was very famous. She did a lot of stuff for the Renaissance. She did a lot of stuff for the Renaissance. She was an avid Ovid reader. That's what she was known. She loved the classic Latin text. And I got a couple people that I want to bring up. So the first person that I really want to bring up, I want to bring up Petrarch, because Petrarch reminds me of myself the most. I call this the proto-Renaissance, because the official Renaissance is considered to be 15th century, right? Or if some people even go as 14th. You can see it right here. Someone wrote that. This is this is the 14th, so this is the early Renaissance, and there's a case to be made either way. There's a case to be made that the Renaissance is right here. There's even some 13th century people who are bringing the Renaissance in a way. But Petrarch is one of my favorites because he loved the classics, and he reminds me of myself because he just kind of just gave up on people and just wanted to live in reclusively and read all day and read ancient texts all day. And so, and then he thought of himself as a necromancer, that he would bring back the dead when he would read them. So he's famous for rediscovering Cicero's letters that was lost. That's one of the things he was known for. He wrote a lot of poetry. He was a big poet, and he had his own muse, who he called Laura. We're going to get into that too. And so, I actually have a text from this book right here. I have a screenshot from this book right here that I'm reading right now, and I'm working on some content with this. The Italian Renaissance. It's an older book, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. I'm also reading Plethon's works, but I took some screenshots out of here to show you like what Plethon was doing. And fascinating guy, like super fascinating guy. Look. This is from the section on Plethon, and he says, "What am I?" This is Plethon saying. He asked himself a few years before. A scholar? No, hardly that. A lover of woodlands, solitary, in the habit of uttering disjointed words in the shadow of beech trees, and used to scribbling presumptuously under an immature laurel tree, fervent in toil, but not happy with the results. A lover of letters, but not fully versed in them. An adherent of no sect. I love that. An adherent of no sect, but very eager for truth. And because that is hard to find, and because I am a clumsy searcher, often out of self-distrust, I flee error and fall into doubt, which I hold in lieu of truth. Thus I finally joined that humble band that knows nothing, holds nothing as certain. I love that. Like, you can see the scientific mindset is pouring out of him. Hold nothing as certain. Doubts everything. Doubts everything. That is something that I think is important. Outside of the things that is sacrilege to doubt. Petrarch is important to us in three ways: as a poet, as a humanist scholar, and as a living human being. The eruption of Laura, or love's reality, into Petrarch's life turned him from a rhymester in the prevailing mode into a great poet. And it's like, okay, who's Laura? His muse? Some have doubted that she ever even existed. Like, this is a figment of his imagination. They point to the provincial convention that the poet must sigh forever for an unattainable lady, to Petrarch's presumed desire to outdo Dante's mystical love for Beatrice. Beatrice is Dante's personal muse. If you read the Divine Comedy, she comes up. And it's his lover. It's his life lover, and it's his muse. It's his soul. It's eros. It's something deep there. And his Vita Nuova on the discord between Petrarch's proclaimed devotion to Laura and his simultaneous gross amours, and to convenient triple meetings of the word Laura, il loro, or the poetic laurel. That's very Apollonian right there. The laurel crowns Apollo wears. So he's got this muse that he's possessed by, in a way, who is inspiring him. And anyways, this person, so Laura, they say, is merely an allegory, a useful fiction. That could be true. We don't really know. I was trying to find out what's the answer. No one really knows. By the way, thank you, Ashley, for the $2 super chat. Good to see you in the chat, by the way. Hope you're doing good. Appreciate you. So, useful fiction. And then the author writes, no, Laura was a real woman. Many efforts have been made to track her down. The identification with Laura de Sadi ni Laura de Noves, is very old, and while it presumes difficulties, it is not all unlikely. So let's go take a look at who that is. Let's take a look at that. Who is this girl that they're talking about that might actually be the muse? This is her, the wife of Count Hughes de Sade, and ancestor of Marcus de Sade. Now, a lot of you guys know who this is. He wrote some pretty dark shit. So this is actually really interesting that he's connected to Petrarch. This is the dude that wrote 120 Days of Sodom. And the word sadism derives from his fictional characters. So what you'll take what you want from that. But this is what's going on. Okay, so that's her. And yes, she's the ancestor of Marcus de Sade, and she's also Petrarch's personal muse and his lover. We don't know for sure if this is actually the muse. But some people suspect that he fell in love with her in his lifetime, and then she died in 1348. He was around until 1374. So she was dead when he was in his prime. So that might be why she's the muse. She's a ghost. He's remembering her from when he knew her back when he was younger. I mean, that's 30 years before he died. So that's the theory. Oh yeah, he's known for the first person to develop the concept of the Dark Ages. Tell me you don't love this guy already. He's looking back at history and he's going, what the fuck are we doing? We had Homer. We had Plato. We had fucking the Muses. We had Dante. I'm not Dante. I meant Ovid. We had Virgil. We had all these poets, all these great artists. What are we doing? Why are we not making plays anymore? Why are we not making sculptures anymore? And this is the first person to really start the in a way. He plants the seeds. I'll say it didn't grow under his watch, but he's planting the seeds. He's a demolition. He's taking action, right? And so that's one of the figures I wanted to do a gloss over, and I'm not going to go deep into him. Oh, I just want to read one more page from that book. This one I really like. What they say about him in his seances. He does these seances. Check this out. So he said, my contemporaries offends me, the remembrance, the splendid deeds, even the bright names of men of old allure me, and fill me with intensimal joy, so that many would be shocked to learn how much more I find my delight among the dead than with the living. He doesn't like his own time that he's living in. He's pissed. He's like, I find more delight among the dead than the living. And he says, his reading was a communion with the ancient spirits, alive in books. He wrote them personal letters. He called Cicero his father, Virgil his brother. A great volume of Cicero, disturbed on his shelves, fell and wounded his ankle, making him wonder what he had done to make Cicero angry. He called books welcome, assiduous companions, always ready to appear in public or go back in their box at your order, always disposed to speak or be silent, to stay at home or make a visit to the woods, to travel or abide in the country, to gossip, joke, encourage you, comfort you, advise you, reprove you, take care of you, teach you the world's secrets, the records of great deeds, the rules of life, the scorn of death, moderation and good fortune, fortitude and ill, calmness and constancy in behavior. These are learned, gay, useful, and ready-spoken companions who will never bring you tedium, expense, lamentation, jealous murmurs, or deception. I was just telling someone that recently. I was talking to someone about that. I was saying the exact same thing. I was like, I'm tired of politics. I'm tired of right-wing politics. I'm tired of left-wing politics. I hate them all. All these politicians are all liars. They just want power. Don't care. I don't care what you're fucking raising money for. I don't want to be a part of it. I just want to go and read ancient texts because they're the only people who are being honest. They're the only people who don't want nothing from me. And he had the same attitude. He served his ancient friends. He discovered several lost works of Cicero and gave them to his world. Boccaccio, he engaged an Eastern scholar to translate Homer into Latin. We're going to get into Boccaccio in a second. That's another Renaissance bringer. He engaged an Eastern scholar to translate Homer into Latin. So so look what he's doing, dude. The Latin West was so fallen from its original Roman days. They didn't have Homer. They had to go and get it from the East and translate it into Latin to read it. He's the one doing it. He's the one making it all happen. He's starting the Renaissance. And he says, I've got rid of most of my passions, he wrote, but I have an unsatiable thirst, book buying. I can relate to that. In the end, his library numbered only 200 volumes, partly to be sure because he was always giving books away. Isn't that something? He's always giving them away. I love that. I just love that. I love this guy. I really do. I absolutely love this guy. So we got a few super chats. Jevim Wildwood, thank you. How you doing, Jevim? Good to see you. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate that. Volume check. Please pump up the volume. Okay. Let's get a little more volume there. Is that better? Let me see how that sounds. Is that louder for you? Let me know in the chat if that's louder for you. It's loud as fuck now? Volume's so low? Was it really that low the whole time? Was it really low? Now it's better? Okay. All right, let me know. Keep me posted. I was trying to get that check early on, but okay, good. As long as we got it now. Was that everything I was saying? Could you guys at least hear it? Give me a yes or no on that. It's still too low? Yeah, this system that I got going here is not going to work really. It's better? Okay, let's keep it at this then. I'll try to keep myself closer to the mic too. All right, so did you guys at least hear? Okay, you guys could hear? Okay, good. I'm not going to have to go back over and read that shit. Okay, good. Thank you, Javim. Appreciate you. We got the Cult Corner in the house, another friend of the channel. Thank you for the 314. Neil and Derek, you guys are killing the game. Thank you very much, dude. I appreciate you, dude. Good to see you as well. George Carlin was right from Grandpa of 10. And it's always good to see a familiar face. Grandpa of 10, good to see you in the chat. Hope you're doing good. Hope the grandkids are doing good. Always good to see you too. Always happy to see you in the chat. Thank you. All right, so that's Petrarch. It's one of my favorites. I love Petrarch. I can go on and on about Petrarch. Let's do this. Let's switch up to Beatrice d'Este. So this is another. She's also on the Latin side, and she's in that 15th century period. I might actually have to wait for. Maybe I'm going too far. I'm skipping around now. Let me back up. Let me do someone else before I get to her. But I just want to say she's coming down the pipeline. She's another Renaissance bringer. I wanted to wait on her for after. She's one of the students of the Renaissance, the real Renaissance. And by the way, just like the daughter of Borgia, the Borgia Pope Alexander, she also married a Sforza prince. So I don't know what's with these women Renaissance bringers all marrying Sforza dudes. I don't know what's that about. Something going on with that. Weird. Something I noticed. Because if you look at, for example, I'll just really quick. Pope Alexander, you can see his daughter is where is she? Lucrezia, right here, and it says spouse Giovanna Sforza. Like, why are they all marrying Sforza princes? What's going on? Anyways, all right. So the next person. Oh yeah, I wanted to get into Boccaccio. That's what I wanted to do. Boccaccio, also from that 14th century Proto-Renaissance period, corresponded with Petrarch. Right, he was a correspondent with Petrarch. He wrote down some texts that I think everyone needs to know about. So, just give you a little quick rundown on His most famous works, the Decameron, a collection of short stories on famous women. That's a pretty good text, by the way, too. That's it really. Actually, I think this is worth checking out. Eve, Semiramis, Opus, Juno, Ceres, Minerva, Venus. Now, look at this. Look at this. How beautiful is this? In the middle of Christendom, you would just have people out of nowhere deciding, I'm done writing about the Holy Trinity. I'm done writing about Mary and, how many hypostasises God has, all that bullshit we've already written for 200 times for the last 700 years. I'm going back, dude. I'm going back to write about Opus and Semiramis and Juno. And I'm bringing the old shit back, the old gods. So he writes about Isis, Europa, Thisbe, Niobe. He writes about all these, Medea. He's got chapter 17 on Medea. He's got all of this. This is a classic right here. Classic, classic, classic. He has a whole book about 106 women in history, going all the way back to the mythical days, all the way up till you get to Cleopatra, Agrippina, Faustina Augusta, Pope Joan. I don't even know who that is. And you can see a few other figures that are probably very interesting as well. So that's one of the texts that he wrote. This guy wrote so much shit, dude. The one that I really wanted you to see, though. Let's see if I can find it right here. This one. The Genealogy of the Gods. So he wrote on the genealogy of the gods of the Gentiles, or the genealogy of the pagan gods. That's another way to translate that text, title, I mean. And he wrote, what does he write? He writes about, oh, it says, right, I just want to show you something right here. It says, this gave rise to a literary and iconographic tradition lasting to John Milton and Shelley. So this is really like super influential works right here. We're talking. This is gold. This is diamond. This is like super important shit going on here. The first book, the Demogorgon, the first god of the pagans, had 9 children. Pan, the Morai, the Fates, the Pallas, Phanes, Terra, Erebus. So it's like a remix. It's like he's retelling Hesiod in some other weird way. And he's not the only one to do this. Plethon also makes these weird theological changes that you don't find in antiquity. And it makes you wonder, what was he reading? Like, what sources was he reading to find out that the Demogorgon was the first god and had 9 children, Pan being one of them? That's not what Hesiod says. That's different, but it's fascinating to read. I'm telling you, you should check it out. And then in book 2, Aether and Dias have 2 children, Jupiter and Caelus. Jupiter 1 in Caelus. And then his second book deals with the former, while the third book deals with the latter. Jupiter has 13 children, Minerva, Sol, Apis, Diana, Mercury, Dionysus 1, Proserpina, and it's just a crazy genealogy he writes in this whole book. Book 3, Caelus with his sister Vesta had 12 children, Ops, Tethys, Ceres, Vulcan, Mercury the third, Venus the greater, and Venus second. I don't know, man. It's worth reading though. It's different. It makes you wonder what sources he was pulling this out of, but this is what they had. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have libraries full of translations like we have. They had what they had, and they were trying to resurrect a dead fucking culture from nothing. So this is what you see. This is what you're dealing with. It's not perfect, but it's fascinating. So that's Boccaccio. The next person on my list. I'm going to go back a little bit. Actually, I'm going back to the Greek East. We're leaving the Latin West. We're getting on our plane, and we're moving back to Constantinople. Photius is super important. He's a saint in the Orthodox Church too, by the way. But What did he do? Why am I bringing up Christians that are saints? Well, shouldn't we be opposed to them? Hell no. There's tons of Christians in the church who were Renaissance bringers, and he's one of them. This dude was he was collecting books, rare books, preserving them, and making sure they got translated for the next generation. That was his whole life goal. He was obsessed with books, Photius. Like, he probably is one of the sole reasons why we even have 1% of the works of antiquity that's still. If it wasn't for this guy, we might have lost 99.999999999% of antiquity. But this guy was doing his best to preserve what was left. He's a big torch passer between the Dark Ages and the Renaissance. He's a mediator between the two. Photius had an excellent education. We have no information about how he received this education. The famous library he possessed attests to his enormous erudition, theology, history, grammar, philosophy, law, natural sciences, and medicine. Most scholars believe that he never taught at Magnara or at any other university. Vasilios Takis asserts that while he was patriarch, Photius taught young students passionately eager for knowledge at his home, and he was a center of learning. He was a friend of the renowned Byzantine scholar Leo the mathematician. Let's take a look at him. Byzantine philosopher, logician, associated with the Macedonian Renaissance. That's from that 9th to 11th century. That's that proto-Renaissance. That's one of those little mini Renaissances that happened before the big Renaissance. I've talked about this on my channel at length, the Macedonian Renaissance. At the end of the Second Byzantine iconoclasm, he preserved writing. So, but in the middle of this Dark Age, which is Byzantine iconoclasm, where you're literally not even allowed to paint, let alone perform a play with pan or something. This guy's sitting there plotting the next Renaissance. A true Renaissance man, it says here. Perfect. I love that. All right, so I didn't even plan on bringing this guy up, but he just kind of showed up here. He just kind of came on his own. All right, so then we have Dante. He's also part of that 13th, 14th century proto-Renaissance in the Latin West, and he's famous, obviously, for the Divine Comedy. And I think he was somewhat of a crypto-pagan myself. I think when I read his... For example, I mean, he's just evoking the muse at every corner. He is, here's what let's give you a little taste of his second canto here. Let's share the second canto here. Day was departing, and the embrowned air released the animals that are on the earth from their fatigues. Am I the only one? Made myself ready to sustain the war, both of the way and likeness of the woe, which memory that errs not retrace. And then he says, "O muses on high, O muses, O high genius, now assist me. O memory," which is a goddess, you know that. Memory is a goddess. "Thou that didst write down what I saw, here thy nobility shall be manifest." And I began, "Poet who guides me," talking about Virgil. So he resurrects Virgil from the dead, and he invokes the muses. And this is the beginning of his work. This is just the second canto. It just started. This is like a couple pages in. And he's already invoking the muses, and he's resurrecting Virgil to guide him on his journey to the underworld. So that was in the 13th century. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. You don't get a lot of muses in the 13th century. There is some. I'm not saying there's nothing, but it's not common, and he brings it back in a huge way. So A+ for Virgil. A+ for Virgil. So let's go to, I think we have a few more before I want to bring up my special necromancy of the night. Let's do let's do this. So let's just pull up Dante back up one more time, and then John. Okay, one more. John of Salisbury. He's even earlier. He's not as early as Photius. Photius is the first, I think. Photius is the first of this whole group. John of Salisbury is in the 12th century. Oh, and by the way, there's one more honorary notes. I want to give an honorary shout out to Christopher Mytilene. I have his book right here. I actually have the one side has Greek, the other side has the translation of English. And actually, I'll just show you who he is real quick. Christopher Mytilene. This guy right here, also in the 11th century. I just thought of him because he's in the same time period. And he's a poet in the 11th century who is celebrating Brumalia, an ancient pagan midwinter festival. He writes about it in his text. And he says things like this. This is a translation, obviously. He says, and he's an Atticizer. So when he writes the Greek, he's Atticizing it. He's not writing in hardcore Byzantine Greek. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think he has like perfect Attic Greek, but he Atticizes. He's trying to be Attic. And the translation is, if perhaps you should want to release some of the heathen from your threat, dear Christ, choose Plato and Plutarch for my sake. For both of them and their words and also actions have clung most tightly to your laws. And if they did not know you as God of all, in this case, they only needed your benevolence. That makes you wish to save all men, expecting nothing in return. And so he's like sitting there pleading for Christ to save his beloved pagans, Plutarch and Plato. I love that. I love that about him. I think that, and it shows he's a good dude. You know what I mean? He's not like, there's dirty pagans. They're all rotten in hell. So then you have John of Salisbury, same time period as Christopher Mytilene. And he, you can see right here, he's notable figures of the medieval Renaissance, 12th century. And we're in England now. Isn't that interesting? Like, everyone thinks it's all in Italy. No, this is fucking this Anglo-Saxons had a big part in this shit, dude. I mean, they're the ones bringing us fucking Beowulf. They're the ones bringing us the king, what's it called? The 12, what the hell's his name again? The Knights of the, why am I blanking out on this? Let me see. The chat might know what I'm talking about. What's the famous Anglo-Saxon story of the knights and the king and all that stuff? And I have it right here, actually. King Arthur. Like, why am I blanking out on King Arthur? Anyways, the Anglo-Saxons don't play around when it comes to literature, dude. Like, yeah, there we go. Round Table. King Arthur. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Templars. Hell yeah. So okay, now we're in England now. We're floating around. We're moving up north. We got our plane. We're up there. John of Salisbury. This dude is a bishop. And what is he doing? What is this guy doing? He's in the 12th century. By the way, he died on my birthday. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool synchronicity. Great day to die. So what is he doing? Well, he's writing a bunch of texts, dude. Just like every other Renaissance bringer. He's writing text. He's translating text. He's teaching. He's learning. He's bringing the sciences. This is the text right here, the Meta Logikon. So you have logic, meta, the about after logic or about logic or something like that, right? And he's just a prolific scientific-minded genius, polymath genius, Anglo-Saxon, and he's early too. He's 12th century. This is early on, dude. So just gotta give a shout out to the Anglo-Saxons for being Renaissance bringers as well, of course. And let's go to his work. So we have the Metalogicon, however you want to pronounce it. And it's completed in 1159. It recognizes a milestone in the history of educational theory, undertaken to defend and thorough study of trivium against attack at the hands of those who wished less attention accorded to grammar and logic. So he's sitting around with all these monks and shit who are like, we need to just pray and do homilies and think about Mary and think about the Trinity. And he's like, well, maybe we should worry about logic and grammar and poetry and the logos. And, isn't Christ the logos after all, right? And so he brings back Aristotle. He brings back the principles of Aristotle. And so I just want to show you some of the things he writes in here, some interesting things that I found when I read this. For example, this is the prologue, false accusations, praise of eloquence. That's a good one. What logic means. Oh, this one right here. Why are some arts called liberal? Page 36. And he, you see there's some interesting topics in here that you guys can all find on your, this PDF is easy to find. Type in the Metalogicon PDF. It should come right up on Google. And so page 36, let's see. This is what he says. Why are some arts called liberal? While there are many sorts of arts, the first to prefer their services the natural abilities of those who philosophize of liberal arts. All of the latter are included in the course of the trivium and the quadrivium. The liberal arts are said to have become so efficacious among our ancestors who studied them diligently that they enabled them to comprehend everything they read, elevated their understanding to all things, and empower them to cut through the knots of all problems possible of solution. Those to whom the system of the trivium has disclosed the significance of all words or the rules of the quadrivium have unveiled the secrets of all nature. The secrets of all nature. These guys are shooting for, like, cracking the code of reality with science. Do not need the help of a teacher in order to understand the meaning of books and to find solutions of questions. The branches of learning included in the trivium and quadrivium, are called arts, either because they are delimit artent by rules and precepts from virtue, in Greek known as eris, which strengthens the minds to apprehend the ways of wisdom, or from reason, called arso by the Greeks, which the arts nourish and cause to grow. They are called liberal either because the ancients took care to have their children instructed in them, or because their object is to effect man's liberation. I like that. So that freed from cares, he may devote himself to wisdom. More often than not, they liberate us from the cares incompatible with wisdom. That is very true, by the way. They often even free us from worry about material necessities. 100% fact. I can tell you that right now. This is so true. So that mind may have still greater liberty to apply itself to philosophy. Beautiful, beautiful stuff there. So that's all before. That's all leading up to Petrarch. And then leading up to Plethon. I meant to say. Now we get to Plethon. Now, Plethon was, this is Plethon. So maybe I should just show you his Wikipedia page first before I even bring this up, because I want to just give you a couple things on him that are just easy to find in there. And Gemistos Plethon, people pronounce it both ways, I guess. You could just say, I like Gemistos Plethon. Now, he's around right at the time when Constantinople is about to fall. I mean, it's already fallen at the time. If you look at a map of the Byzantine Empire, the late Byzantine Empire, maybe we can see it here, actually. Yeah, it's just a little bit of... I think it's even... No, this is 13th century. If you keep going to 1453, you can see it's just a little strip. And then you still got a little bit of Greece that are still holding on. It's dead. It's not an empire. It's just a corpse. And he's around during this time. The Paleologos dynasty. The Paleologos dynasty, I'll give them credit. They treated Plethon very good, despite him being a pagan and being in derision of Christianity. They could have killed him for that, based on the Byzantine law of like blasphemy laws and stuff like that for what he was saying, and they didn't, because he was super smart and he loved the Greek, he loved the West. He wanted to. There's a story of him traveling all the way to the Pope in the West during one of the councils that happened at that time. It's probably in here somewhere. Oh, before I even show you that, I just want to show you, look at this. He rejected Christianity, which is very rare during this time period. He rejected Christianity in favor of return to the classical Hellenic gods, mixed with the ancient wisdom of Zoroaster and the Magi. Don't you love that? Now look at this. There's a council that he goes to, a Council of Florence. This is the one. Now the Council of Florence, you can see it was convened in the territories of the Holy Roman Empire in Germany. Italy became a venue of the Catholic Ecumenical Council after a gap of about 2 centuries. It was convoked in Basel, at Council of Basel, by Pope Martin V shortly before his death, in the context of the Hussite Wars in Bohemia and the rise of the Ottoman Empire. At stake was the greater conflict with the conciliar movement and the principle of the papal supremacy. So they had this council. They convened this council, and they're talking about the schism, obviously. And so he shows up there. I wonder if he's in this page, by the way. Yeah, he is. Perhaps the council's most important historical legacy was the lectures on Greek classical literature given in Florence by many of the delegates from Constantinople, including the Neoplatonist Gennadius Pletho. I don't know why I spell it that way. These greatly helped progress the Renaissance humanism, or the Renaissance in general. The struggle. So this is the aftermath, basically. And now that's a student of Plethon right there. And so, he went there. He went to this East-West Council, this Council of Florence, to try to plead with the Pope, and was like, dude, why don't we bring the church back together again so we can have a strong Christian West? He put aside his own fucking bullshit. You know, he was able to think beyond himself and think outside of himself, and he was trying to think of a way to beat the Turks. Basically, we need to unify. And the Pope was like, "Fuck that! Nah, we're not doing that shit." And they basically just said no, and the Greeks fell, and that was the end of it. The Latins left. The Latin Christians did nothing to help the fall of Constantinople. The Venetians did, though. The Venetians in Venice, they really did send a bunch of... They were trying to help them out, but it wasn't enough. So, Plethon, he's this interesting character. And his pupils, we're going to talk about them in a second. Bessarion and George Scalarius, or Gennadius. And he was a big deal. He was... At the invitation of some Florentine humanists, he set up a temporary school to lecture on the difference between Plato and Aristotle. Few of Plato's writings were studied in the Latin West at the time. That's how far fallen they were. They didn't even have Plato anymore. They lost Plato. How do you lose Plato? And he essentially reintroduced much of Plato to the Western world. shaking the domination which Aristotle had come to exercise over Western European thought. And that's kind of what happened. You had Plato dominating the East and Aristotle dominating the West. And what the result of that is interesting. You can see two different churches going in two different directions. The East was a lot more mystical. You had like these doctrines of theosis, and you could tell it's Platonist. And then the West was a lot more rational, was a lot more Aristotelian. So you could see the effects that it had of them going in different directions. I think that's interesting. But then I think Plethon was like, no, you need to unify both. You need to have Plato and Aristotle. You need to have both the angel and devil on your shoulders at all times. You need both. So I like that. I like how he brought that back. And that's the Renaissance. That was what brought the Renaissance. So it says right here, Ficini, which I'm going to bring him up to in a second, introduction to the translation of Plotinus has traditionally been interpreted to the effect that Cosimo Medici, and we're going to bring him up to, attended Plethon's lectures. Look at this. Medici attended Plethon's lectures and was inspired to found the Academy at Florence. You know what that is, right? That's the Renaissance. Everyone credits Medici as the run. Oh, Medici, the paintings. He funded everything. He's the real guy who brought the Renaissance. No, he was a student of Plethon, and he got inspired by Plethon, a pagan. It says it again right here. Medici attended Plethon's lectures and was motivated to establish Academia Platonica in Florence, where the Italian students of Plethon continued their teaching following the conclusion of the council. That is the Renaissance. And look at all these people who were members of that academy. Look at this. Bracci, you have Landino, you have Poliziano, you have Della Mirandola, you have, let's see, where's some of the artists at? Some of these artists. I could probably look up who are the artists that were in the academy. Florentine Renaissance. Here it is right here. Florentine Renaissance. You get Leonardo da Vinci. You get Galileo was a member of this school. You got Machiavelli, a member of this school. Apparently, Christopher Columbus was a member of this school. I already talked about the Proto-Renaissance literature. Dante, Petrarch, see the same names I already brought up. But where is I want to know who was part of that school. So, Da Vinci, Michelangelo. See, look, Michelangelo, Florence. They're all Florence. Da Vinci was an Italian polymath. Let's see. Da Vinci, Florence. Who else? Pier della Francesca, Florence. Who else do we got? These are all the most famous, greatest. Donatello, where is he from? Florence. These are all results of the pagan Plethon starting the Renaissance, man. I can go on and on. All these, look at Botticelli. Where is he from? Florence. Who else we got? Titian, where is he from? Oh, he's from Venice. Fuck. Okay. They're not all from there. Notable work, Bacchus and Ariadne. That's a famous painting. That's another beautiful painting. Let's see. Who else do we got? Actually, he's from Venice, but I think he went to the academy. Let me see if it says that. Doesn't say. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not all of them. All right, who else we got? We got Raphael. Where is Raphael from? Let's see. Raphael, together with Da Vinci and Michelangelo, he forms the traditional trinity of great masters of the period. So he's obviously part of the same group of Florentine There it is right here. Absorbing the artistic traditions of Florence. All right. So now we need to, now you're probably wondering, well, who the fuck is this Plethon guy that started all this shit? Like, how can this guy really be that great, dude? How can this guy really? And we got another super chat from Ashes. May you be blessed in all your ways, Historia. Hell yeah, dude. Hell the Muse Cleo. That's what I should say. I should show you Cleo real quick. Cleo, if you don't know, it's my muse. It's just my muse in my ear, and she tells me things about history, if you know what I mean. She's the muse of history. That's what she is, the muse of history. And that's who Plutarch talks to. If you read Plutarch, if you read on Isis and Osiris, you can see he's constantly going, but what about this, Cleo? He's writing down. He's talking to Cleo. Plutarch does this, and he's talking to the muse of history. He's a historian. He's doing history. He's talking to this very specific muse, the muse of history. So that's that. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for that super chat. Now we're almost an hour in. I think I should get to the main course, and we have a whole slideshow that we get to go through. It's pretty cool, dude, and it's about Plethon. The Secret Text of Hellenic Polytheism, which I actually have that book right here. I don't know where I put it. It's over here somewhere, though. I have the whole book here. And so we're not going to read the book. I have it, but we're going to just go through this slideshow that John Upsaupaus put together. And he had a secret. He attended a Council of Union, was attempting to reunite the Christian schism. I already brought that up. Defended Plato over. So isn't that something, though? I just want people to like really think about that. He was trying his best to heal the Christian schism, despite not even being a Christian. Because he knew that if he can do that, there's going to be a flourishing of, a golden age would come out of it. He wanted to save the Greek East, basically, by uniting it with the West. And he failed. But he continues to do work by influencing Medici to found the academy. He called himself Plethon. The secret, he was practicing neo-pagan religion based on ancient Platonism. So he writes a book of laws, and I had this too. I had this over here too. We can go through it if you really want to. Complete description of polytheistic pagan theology based on Platonism. There's a sacred calendar in there. I've read that. I look through it all the time, actually. Religious rituals, prayers, invocations. It's in depth, dude. He's like, he has it all figured. Like, he knows what to do. He's like, you want religion? Here's how to do it. Gemistos was born in 53, studied under Elisias. By the way, this guy's interesting too. I should bring him up. There's this weird pagan Jew. I forgot to bring him up. He's worth bringing up, actually. So let's take a second to look at this dude right here. This guy. Oh wait, no, that's not the right one. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. I'll find it in 1 second. Where is it? They don't have a page for this guy? I thought they did. Wow, they don't have this guy doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Interesting. So I guess we can't look him up and do a gloss on him at all. What does this say? Who was Elias Judaeus? He was, all right, whatever. This is dumb. But anyways, he had this interesting character. That was one of his teachers. He's got multiple teachers though. This guy, He's going to different sources for different things, and this is one of them. And he seems to be a polytheistic Jew. Like he's ethnically Jewish, but he's like invoking Zeus and fucking Hestia and shit. So a very fascinating character. Plethon meets him, learns about this shit. Anyways, he stayed for a time in the Ottoman territory, left Constantinople at 1405, settled in Mistra, and his name means full, and he's a pagan, blah, blah, blah. That's part of it. So the book, discovered after Plethon's death, and I remember being told that most of his works did not survive. Like Plethon was a prolific writer. We only have 2 books that survive. So they're all destroyed. Most of his shit's destroyed. Look at this. Sent to his, what he does, he's actually smart. He knew they were going to burn his books because he knows I'm a pagan. These are Christians. They're not going to fuck with my shit. So he went to one on one side. He goes to this guy, his student George Scholarios, and I think he preserved one of his books. And then the laws, I think it was the laws, or maybe the secret text, he gives to Medici. Medici locks it up in his bank so that no one can get to it. And that's why we have 2 of his books still preserved to us. And he was committed to the flames. It took 4 hours to burn all of his books. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. He wrote a lot of shit. 4 hours? I can burn one book in 30 seconds. 4 hours, that had to be a lot of books. Well, what's left? Divided into 3 books comprising 105 chapters. 16 survive. And really, it's just 2. These 16 are basically divided up into 2 different books that you can buy on Amazon. You can find all this stuff on Amazon. And book 1, book 2, book 3, and that's it. There's like nothing that survives. So he writes about theology of Zoroaster and Plato. He thought those were the 2 that need to replace Peter and Paul. That's what he said. I think he said Jesus and Paul. I think he said Zoroaster and Plato should replace Jesus and Paul. Something like that. And he writes a bunch of prayers to the gods. I can show you some of the stuff he wrote, actually. Talks about the golden chain. Oh, here's one of them right here. Come to us, O gods of learning, whoever you may be, and whatever number you may be, you who preside over science and truth, who distribute them to whomever you please, according to the decrees of the Almighty Father of all things, King Zeus. With your help, we would be unable to accomplish such a great work. Come guide our reasoning and grant this work to obtain the best possible success and to be like a treasure, always open to those people who want to lead the most beautiful and best conduct in public or private life. See what I'm saying? Good dude. He says the 6 great lawgivers. This is interesting. The 6 great lawgivers of all time. He lists them. Zoroaster. He wrote 6,000 BC. That we know that's not true. Elmulpus. That's an interesting addition to the group. Minos of Crete. Lycurgus of Sparta. Ephitos and Numa Pompilus of the Romans. Those are the 6 great lawgivers. Notice there's no Moses to be found on there. Hell yeah, dude. That's based. 7 ancient sages. The Brahmins of India. The Magi of Media. The Quirites of Crete. The priest of Zeus at Dodona. Polydius, Tiresias the blind seer from Homer's Odyssey, and Charon the Centaur, the one that teaches, is it Hercules or somebody? Who's the teacher of Hercules? I think Hercules. 7 sages of ancient Greece. And this is where he bases his whole system off of these people, dude. Kylon of Sparta. And by the way, I think this is where we get that list from, if I'm not mistaken. The 7 sages of Greece. This might be older, actually. I could be wrong, but someone in the comments fact check me on this. Kylon of Sparta, Solon of Athens, Bias of Priene, Thales of Miletus, Cleobulus of Lindos, Pittacus of Mytilene, and Myson of Kenai. And I know this list is different depending on where you go. I'll show you right now. 7 sages of Greece. There's no like canonical list, I don't think. It can change depending on where or what we're talking about. Before I pull that up, though, looks like we got member for 51 months. Imagine naming your son Zoroaster in 2026. Based. Yes, that would be based. Let's do it. Little Zoroaster. Little Zorro. Thank you, Jim, for the 20, dude. I appreciate you, Jim. You're the one that makes this thing keep kicking, man. Appreciate those $20 drops like that. Big fucking deal. Thank you very much, dude. Appreciate you. The 7 sages of Greece, right? This is who they are. Thales. Now, no, I don't know. Did he have Thales on his list? Let me check. No. Oh, he did, yeah. So Thales and Pittacus was on there. Bias was on there. Solon was on there. So this is the same list. Okay. But if you can see right here, Diogenes points out there was among his great disagreement over whose figure should be counted as the 7. Some of them wanted this guy, the Scythian guy, which I think he should be on there. Why not have a Scythian in there, right? Scythian prince, philosopher, one of the great sages, and he was worshiping the snake goddess. That's kind of cool. You gotta have someone like that on your list of 7 sages, dude. Performing orgiastic shamanistic ritual at night, in which he wore images on his dress and played drums. Damn. So there's one of the 7 sages of Greece. I guess he got taken off for whatever reason. Probably for reasons that are pretty obvious. Periander, I mean, I don't know why he's not on the list. He should be on the list. So it's hard to make a list of 7, man. It's hard. You can't do it. Aesop is another one who people put on that list every once in a while. And obviously there's other people as well. So that's I just wanted to show you that there's different thoughts on. Oh, we got a new member in the house. What's poppin', D5K? Thank you for becoming a member, dude. Hope you enjoy some of the stuff on there. I gotta get some more content up there too. But I appreciate you for joining and appreciate the support. Thank you very much. All right, Plethon. Those are the 7 sages. 8 philosophers he lists: Pythagoras, Plato, Parmenides, Timaeus of Locri, Plutarch, Plotinus, Porphyry, and Iamblichus. And that's a good list. I mean, yeah, that's the philosophical tradition. I mean, it doesn't have Heraclitus. It doesn't have like Xenophon, or doesn't have, like, there's some guys on here that I'm wondering why Parmenides makes it over Heraclitus, for example, why Empedocles is not on here. I don't know. Maybe he has his reasons, but it's a cool list. 8. And I wonder why 8. Why not 9? Why not 10? Why not 13? Or why, whatever. Cool though. I like it. Now he's got his magical oracles as well, the Chaldean oracles that are passed down through him, and they make it all the way down to us today. Not in golden chain, but important to Plethon and other Neoplatonists, called magical oracles, because they were attributed to the Magi. Magicologia. Now, more commonly known as the Chaldean oracles. So this is part of his tradition. So the orders of reality. This is fascinating. Zeus emanates the super celestial gods. Now you can tell he's influenced by Proclus. There's a lot of Proclean ideas floating around here, because this is not, you don't find this in regular Plato or even Plutarch really. But this is like super advanced Platonism here, where you have the super celestial gods, and these are pre-eternal. pre-eternal, and then you have the eternal God. What do you mean pre-eternal? What the hell does that mean? Well, that's just what it is. There's pre-eternal and there's eternal. The gods of Olympus create immortal beings, celestial gods, and daimons. Then the gods of Tartarus, the Titans, create mortal beings. So you can see that there's an Apollonian, Dionysian, or whatever you want to call it. You can call it the Olympian and chthonic dualism going on there between the celestial gods. Then the celestial gods assist the creation of mortals. You see, there's a hierarchy here. And then you have the everlasting. So this would be Ionic. This would be Cronian time. And this is pre-Ionic. And anyways, then the terrestrial realm, where the mortals are. So, Zeus is the ineffable one. Ereton hen. That is the ineffable one. He's the monad in this system. He is the good itself, the highest, super essential, pre-eternal, supremely one, purely one. And this is God the Father. The Father snatched himself away and didn't close his fire in the mental power, the Magian oracles say. The principle of all things, the supreme God, in the language of our fathers, is called Zeus, supremely good, lacking no perfection to be the best possible. Now, he really takes from the Stoics, because you might be thinking, Zeus ain't perfect, dude. Zeus, what about Ganymede, dude? What about that? What about Ganymede? No. The Stoics in antiquity, they cleaned Zeus up. They made him into a perfect, they called him the Logos. And they rejected all the myths about him that made him do bad shit. They said that's all just fairy tale shit. Zeus is perfect. Hail Zeus. And that is the Zeus that Plethon adopts. He adopts the Stoic Platonist Zeus. I like that. I like what he's doing here. I think it's a great idea. So then you have the super celestial gods, Zeus, and then, by the way, in this system, Poseidon is the son of Zeus. I didn't make this up. Don't get mad at me. I know you're, what do you mean? It's his brother. What about Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus? They split up the cosmos 3 ways. That's not what he does here. In Plethon's system, Zeus is the father, Poseidon is the son. Hera is also I think his daughter. I have to look in. I'm pretty sure he is. But Zeus is the eternal monad who gives birth to Poseidon. And 22 super celestial gods below Zeus, eternal, exist outside of time. He's super essential. He's the monad. He's the Platonic monad. He is the one. Correspond to Platonic forms of ideas, intellect, Noes, Olympians 1 through 17. So you can see the Olympians. And then the Titanic after that. You can see Kronos, Aphrodite, Pan, Demeter. The agricultural, those type of beings. Agricultural and fertility, I should say. Have power to emanate immortal beings. Tartarians or Titans have power to emanate mortal beings. So, these are all children of Zeus, all of them. Divine gender. What does it mean for a deity to be male or female? In the context of Plethon's theology, a deity is called male if more active and more associated with form/idea. A deity is called female if a mere passive and more associated with matter, which is formed. Ultimate source, ancient Greek pre-scientific understanding of sex. Deities can be denoted by abstract descriptions. Instead of Apollo, idea of entity. Instead of Artemis, idea of difference. Plethon thought this approach would be confusing and unsurprising. Poseidon, idea of idea. The eldest and most venerable child, like I said, he's the child of Zeus. The eldest and most venerable child of Zeus. form itself or idea itself, limit itself, beauty itself, master of ideas. This is interesting. He has his own folk etymology here. Postis aidon, which is not really the etymology, but he kind of makes his own. Contains all forms, second God, the paternal mind, and Magian oracles. The Father finished everything and handed them to the second mind, whom you, the human tribe, call first. And that's Poseidon. Again, this is not, you don't find this in antiquity, Poseidon being the oldest child of Zeus. Plethon is kind of, you're left wondering, where did he get this idea from? Like, or is this the muse that inspired him to say this? Is this something? I don't know. It's I don't know what to say about that. Hera, idea of matter, idea or form of matter, contains all forms potentially, source of generation and multiplication of all things, contains all number and magnitudes, motherless mother, wife of Poseidon, not wife of Zeus, as in traditional mythology. Isn't that something? Instead of Zeus and Hera, raging Hera, getting pissed at Zeus for cheating on him, it's his daughter. Or no, it's not. Is it his daughter? I don't know if it is or not. But she's married to Poseidon. So it's something different going on here. Oh yeah, these magical pentagrams and shit are huge in Plethon. He's all about theurgy and magic. He's all about that shit, dude. That's one of the things that, and no one really understands it. People today try to understand it. No one really knows what he meant by a lot of this stuff. Like Apollo, Athena. Why is Athena there? Why is Dionysus here? Why is Hephaestus? What is he doing with this? Something. He's got something going on. Apollo, idea of identity. It governs identity or sameness. Apollon, not many. But that is, actually, I've seen this etymology proposed, and I think a Pythagorean fragment somewhere, because the Pythagoreans actually posited that Apollo was the monad. He was the one, not in this system. Source of harmony, responsible for justice and wisdom, bestows health, bodily harmony, leader of the muses, patron of arts and sciences, invoked to inspire love and divine beauty. Artemis, that's his sister, obviously, rules and governs diversity and differentiation, multiplies unity of ideas into particular ideas, into individual things belonging to them, gives our bodies moderation, power, strength, and soundness, gives our immortal souls courage and self-control, invoke for aid in avoiding error and for guidance living rightly. Hephaestus, the idea of rest, governs stability and permanence in temporal reality, leader of supercelestial gods after Poseidon. So, yeah, you got all these. So he's got a lot of shit going on here. Dionysus, here we go. Creates motion characteristics of souls which have own goals. Creator of rational souls, of celestial gods, daimons, and humans, seeks own perfection coming from source. Invoke him to strengthen aspiration for the best, to live life worthy of the gods, or to bring us back quickly to reason and virtue. And you're like, wait a minute, that's a weird interpretation of Dionysus that I've never even seen before. It's a rational reason, virtue Dionysus that you're not used to seeing. Athena, other cause motion, motion that is not self-generated but caused by something outside itself, governs forms and processes separable from matter, separates us from all that superfluous or useless when have erred through lack of wisdom or prudence, to inspire us with intelligence, to bring us back to right behavior. The second pentad, creators of immortal souls. Now it's flipped upside down now. Or I should say flip back up right. You still have another pentagram. But this time you have Atlas, Pluto, Tithonus, Dione, and Hermes. And these are rulers of the heavens, planets, fixed stars, earthly daimons, and the human soul. And that's interesting that it's Pluto is the human soul. It's the most innermost underworld that exists. Because Pluto is the rule of the underworld. But what he's saying is the underworld is not a real place underneath the earth, dummy. There's nothing down there but earth. The underworld is inside of your soul. It's the deepest, all of the atoms inside deep into your soul. That's what it is. That's the underworld. And Pluto rules there with Persephone. So you can see he's got all these mapped out. Look at Tithonus. It's like this magician Hermes figure. In myth, he's the lover of dawn, granted everlasting life. So he was immortal. Dione, idea of fixed stars, emanates zodiac and other fixed stars. Hermes, idea of earthly daimons, emanates the daimons. Daimons are mediators between gods and mortals. Daimons are good. There you go. Bringing back the old definition of daimons. And I should actually show you what Philo says. So let me just pull up Loeb real quick, because this classical definition is even right before Christianity, people understood daimons just to be the same as angels. For example, Philo, who's Jewish, and I think it's in the book On Giants. Let me see if I can find that. Here it is right here. He says, if you realize that souls and demons and angels are but different names for the same underlying object. And you might be going, demons? No, it's daimonas. Daimonas, sukos, angelus. He's saying these are all the same thing. And this is not, by the way, this is not the only time he says this. He says this like 3 times throughout his works, Philo. He says that daimons are what we call angelos in our scripture. The common usage of men is to give the name demon to bad and good demons alike, and the name of the soul good and bad souls. And so too, you will not go wrong if you reckon as angels not only those who are worthy of the name, who are ambassadors backwards and forwards between men and God, just like Hermes. See? That's the classical definition of what a daimon is. It's not a demon. They're not horned demons that are trying to hurt you. They're your inner voices. Their inner voice. That's what that is. And that's what he's talking about here. Pluto, the idea of human mind, emanates elevated immortal part of human nature, creation and fate after death, leader and protector of human nature, raises us to higher realms, contains forms and human artifacts, governs heroes. Invoke him to protect us on earth and lift us eventually to higher regions. So it's our inner ruler, the ruler of your inner deepest soul. That's what Pluto is. And then there's a third pentad where you have Rhea on top, Hestia on the bottom, Leto, who's the mother of Apollo, Hecate, and Tethys. These are all goddesses, all very, very important. Some of them even primordial goddesses here. Rhea is the queen of all the elements. Leto, fire, warmth, separation. That's why she gives birth to Apollo, the light bringer. Makes sense. Hecate, air. Tethys, water. That makes sense. That's what Tethys is. She's a primordial ocean deity or whatever, sea deity. And then Hestia, earth. So that's the next pentad. He's got these pentagram shit going on. There's a lot of that stuff going on. Rhea is the idea of element. emanates the everlasting elements. Goddesses become emanate matter. And it's funny because the word matter, mother, mater, are pretty related, or in that sense, they're close together. Idea of things without souls. Leto, idea of fire, aether, warm, separation, perpetual motion, circular. Substance of vehicles of souls, vitality. Hecate. Look at this picture of Hecate, by the way. That's fucking crazy. Cool, connection, rectilinear motion, terminates, higher mobility, more tenuous rising. And then Tethys, wet, dissolution, rectilinear motion, terminates, less mobile, denser, sinking. And then Hestia, idea of earth. Or the form, this idea means form. It's the same word. Form of earth. Platonic forms is what they are. He's mapping the gods onto the Platonic forms. Then there's another pentad. This one's flipped again, upside down. Titans are gods of Tartarus. That's the deep underworld pit. It's even below Hades. Kronos, Demeter, Pan, Aphrodite, and there she is, Persephone, Kori. And so he has those there too. Kronos, perishable form. Aphrodite, perishable matter. Queen of the Titans. That's interesting. Pan, animal life. Idea of animals without reason. Demeter, plant life. In the Eleusinian mysteries, it brings the gift of agriculture. Kori, Persephone, the idea of human body. Responsible for the mortal part of humans. Pluto and Persephone together create human being comprising a mortal soul and mortal body. So that's your inner body and soul dyad, is Persephone and Hades, or Pluto, or Kori, whatever you want to, or Persephone and Pluto. They connect Olympus and Tartarus, king and queen of the underworld. So there's a lot of shit in here, dude. Oh yeah, the sacred calendar. I wanted to show this one too. So he said he has these calendars that are divided into 4 weeks separated by holy days. 5 or 6 holy days each month. Holy days indicated in red. So there's a holy day on a new moon, full moon, mid-month, and then old moon. And so he had these certain days of the month that were holy. And you have annual holy days, 8th waxing of the 4th month for all the Olympian gods, especially Zeus. Mid-month of 7th for all the gods. 8th month, 10th for Olympian gods. Old year, last week of the month, focused on Pluto and Kori. So you have the different hymns that you would sing at these times of the year. He even prescribes what incenses you burn, what type of storax or oils or whatever aromatics that you flight up. He has it all figured out. He has everything figured out. Hear ye, worshippers of the gods. Now is the time to address our morning or afternoon, evening prayer to the gods. And that's another thing. He had daily prayers for you if you wanted to follow his system. He had a whole system. And it was pretty legit regimen of like devotion. It's no joke, but it's really based on reason and logic more than superstition, and it was more like there's a good balance there. So Olympians kneel on both knees. This is how you pray. For the Olympians, you kneel on both knees, raise face and hands. Atone, O gods, be propitious. Eleoi, et o theoi, in the Hypophrygian mode. So he even tells you how does the mode to sing it in, based on ancient Greek. Plato mentions all these modes: Phrygian mode, Doric mode, whatever. I think he's got like Ionian mode. I think he has all these different modes of how different beats or different melodies and all this stuff. And different meters, right? Dactylic hexameter, all this stuff. And so look, you have Hyper-Dorian mode right here, Phrygian mode, and Hypo-Phrygian mode. And he tells you what to say. He tells you how to pray and what to do for certain gods. Raise face and hands, O gods, be propitious, in the Phrygian mode. Kneel on, I guess all of them are both kneel on both knees, raise face and hands. Zeus, king, be propitious. Zeo basileo, ilathi. Ilathi. Zeo basileo, ilathi, in Hyper-Dorian mode. Bend forward to place hands and forehead on the ground. This is repeated 3 times. For some reason, Zeus gets 3. And the other ones just get 1. So that's, I don't know. I like this shit, dude. I just like this shit. Daily rituals. Morning. Proclamation, threefold adoration. Morning invocation. Monthly hymn. Hymn 3s through 15. Daily hymn for the current day. First perennial hymn to Zeus, hymn 1. I can show you the hymns too. I have them here. Actually, let me grab that real quick, and I'll come back to this. While I'm grabbing that, let me first let me check the chat and just see if I can is there anything going on right now? Anything? Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate you. Unless you're talking to someone in the chat, then appreciate them then. Let's see here. Who else is here? Pan is Swifty. Yeah, this is too confusing for anyone not on mushrooms. I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. Scoby's here. Cool. Hypatia. Won't you please help me? Oh, sorry about that. I can only do one thing at a time. Let's see. Who else do we got here? Plethon. Hell yeah. So that's that. And Ash is in the chat. Thank you for joining. Go to bed. Have a good night. All right. So let me do something real quick. Let me go to my channel. I want to get that book over here and show you what I'm talking about. But before I do that, I don't want to leave the screen on nothing. So let me just play something for you. Oh, you know what I could do? I have an idea. I could play the one where I talk about Athena. This is a good video. This is an old video. My editing wasn't that good yet, so it's just something. You'll like this maybe. Be right back.
The goddess Athena, who was known by the Romans as Dea Roma and Minerva. She is equated by the Greeks with the Egyptian goddess Neith, who is the patron goddess of Sais, Egypt, possessing very similar traits. But both of these goddesses can trace these traits to the goddess Anat, Canaanite Ugaritic goddess, with the epithets such as the Virgin and Wisdom, clearly possessing similar traits as this goddess. Nike, Victory, Pallas Athena, Athena Sophia of Wisdom, the Parthenos, Athena the Virgin. Some go as even far to equate her with the Hindu god Saraswati for being the goddess of knowledge and wisdom as well. However, it's clear that Minerva and Athena are the same god with the same origin story. To prevent any more confusion, I'm going to call her by her Latin name, Minerva, from here on out.
I did one good thing for my kids today. We went to church, and it feels like a win. We sang, we prayed, we learned about Jesus Christ. My kids got to be with other kids. I got to be with other moms. When they say it takes a village, this is what they're talking about. Come to church with us this Sunday.
Her origin story goes all the way back to the time before Jupiter deposed Saturn. The nymphs of the mountain and the ocean in Crete, without the knowledge of Cronus, raised Jupiter, the father of gods and men. By that time, he was in love with the nymph Metis. She was the most prudent of all the nymphs. She decisively helped Zeus win victory over deposing his father Saturn, who ate his own children. She gave Jupiter the magical herb, which forced the terrible child eater Cronus to pull out of his stomach all the gods he had swallowed. Metis was the first wife of Zeus. At a feast held in Olympus to formalize their relationship, Ouranos and Gaia revealed to the very grandson that Metis would give him firstly a daughter and then a son who would become so strong that he would become the first of the gods. This is a reference to Dionysus, but the daughter would come first. This daughter is Minerva. The oracle from his ancestors put him into thinking. Therefore, when he saw that Metis was pregnant, he could not settle down. Jupiter asked for an herb from his grandmother Gaia. Whoever ate the herb would become as small as the size of a little finger. Gaia did not refuse to favor and asked, and she gave him the herb. Then Jupiter ran on Metis and gave it to her to swallow, saying that this herb would help her give birth to strong children. Metis believed him. Swallowing this herb, she became diminishing. Jupiter opened his huge mouth and swallowed her. He did the same trick as his father did, but he ate his wife and the child that was in her womb. Once Jupiter swallowed her, he immediately gained all the wisdom of the world. He knew every moment what was good and what was bad. After a few days, he started to get a headache, and discomfort became more and more intense as the headache got stronger. Jupiter was in terrible pain. All goddesses tried to soothe him with magic herbs, but nothing seemed to ease the pain. He screamed and knocked on the ground, so that the whole Olympus echoed and trembled by his voice. One night, Jupiter could not bear it anymore. And there's two versions of the story. One is that he called in Prometheus, who was given the double-headed axe by Hephaestus to come and relieve the pain. And another version is Hephaestus himself, who comes with a huge hammer. The moment Zeus saw him and said, "Quickly, give my head a strike with your hammer in order to save me once and for all from this torment." The divine blacksmith rolled his eyes and refused to do so, but Jupiter was not joking. Enraged, he threatened Hephaestus that he will throw him from Olympus. And so Hephaestus, or Prometheus, struck the head of Jupiter, and then in front of everyone's eyes, sprang from the head of Jupiter, full-armored, gray-eyed daughter, Minerva, holding the shield, wearing a helmet, waved menacingly a spear. Minerva, the goddess of war, but also the patron of wisdom.
Oh, this is a good part, right?
Minerva inherited her father's omnipotence and wisdom of Metis. Here's what Proclus has to say about Minerva. And thus much concerning the planetary deities, who were called by the ancients the governors of the world. The next place, therefore, let us direct our attention to what Plato, his best interpreter Proclus, have transmitted to us concerning Minerva.
The reason why I'm using Proclus to talk about Minerva is because he calls her the demiurge. He says that Minerva, because she came out of the mind of Zeus, that she literally is wisdom, Sophia, and that she is the demiurge. Her wisdom is the architect of all of the reality. That's how much they honored Minerva or / Athena.
Divinity connected with the ether also has an allotment in the celestial regions. Plato in Timaeus describes this goddess both a lover of war and a lover of wisdom, for he says that she is philopolemic and philosophic. As she everywhere, however, exerts this twofold power according to her intellectual, supermundane, and mundane substance. I shall present what Proclus says, representing the two powers of the goddess. In his commentary on what part of the Timaeus, where she is celebrated by Plato, in the Demiurgus and Father, says he of the whole world, many orders of gods that have the form of the one present themselves to the view, and those are of a guardian or demiurgic, elevating, connective, perfective characteristic. But the undefiled and untamed deity Minerva is one of the first intellectual unities subsisting in the demiurgus, according to which he himself remains firm and immutable, and all things proceeding from him participate of the inflexible power, and through which he intellectually perceives everything and is separate in an exempt manner from all beings. All theologists, therefore, call this divinity Minerva, as being brought forth indeed from the summit of her father, and abiding in him, being demiurgic, separate, and immaterial intelligence. Hence Socrates in the...
All right. So this is the secret text of Proclus. Oh, by the way, it's the same author. Same guy who I got the so this must be the scholar of Plethon. I should get him on. Is he still alive? Let me see. John Oppisus has practiced magic since the 1960s. Is this guy still alive, dude? PhD with practices magic? Who the fuck is this? John OPS. He's got ops in his last name, dude. Opsopos. Author. Oh shit, he looks like a magician too. Tell me this guy's not dead. Website of John Opsopos. It just shows the same book that I'm holding. That's all it has. Here we go. Here's some information here. Let's see. Let's check this out. John Opsopos. Practice magic. Oh, it's the same thing that I'm reading right here. Has practiced magic since the 1960s, and his writing has been published in various magical neo-pagan magazines. He frequently presents workshops on Hellenic magic, neo-paganism, Pythagorean theurgy, and spiritual practice. Retired university professor with more than 45 years of experience reading ancient Greek and Latin. Holy shit. Let's get a hold of this guy. Let's get him on and talk about Plethon, dude, in the Renaissance. What do you guys think? What do you guys think in the chat about that idea? Anyone down for that? No? Yes. Zeus. Okay. That's all I needed. That's all I needed to hear. That's all I got. I'll have to find out if I can get a hold of this guy or if he's still alive or not. I don't know. This guy's been around for a long time. When was this book published? He's translating Plethon, so he knows some Greek, that's for sure. This is 2001. So 25 years ago. Hopefully he's still around. Anyways, he has the whole entire map of the monthly hymns, and it says first perennial hymn to Zeus, Hyperdorian A. Zeus, the Father, the Self-Father, the eldest demiurge, All-Father, King, the highest, the most greatest of all powerful, the one itself, the good itself, being itself. The second one is called the perennial hymn to the gods, Hyperdorian A. And it says, O noble children of the All-Father, being Zen, you govern us with justice. And then you have a hymn to Poseidon, a hymn to Hera, hymn to Olympian gods. These are all in Hypophrygian. Hymn to Artemis. Hymn to the celestial gods in Phrygian. Hymn to Athena, Hyperphrygian. Hymn to Dionysus, Hyperphrygian. Let's read that one. He says, O Bacchus, Father, maker of all rational souls, of the celestial and the daimons, and of us. You follow after great Poseidon next in this, and cause the changes drawing us by love to good. Ascending thereby to a more desired state, grant thou whenever we depart each time the good. Hymn to the daimons, hymn to the titans. Hymn to Zeus again. Hymn to Pluto. Hymn to the sun. It's got a lot of shit in here. The cardinal virtues: prudence, justice, fortitude, self-control, piety, goodness, good counsel, natural science, religiousness. There's a lot of good shit in here. Tells you how to do libations, purifications, how to use lustral water. Obviously, there's stuff about incense in here. How to do offerings. Another kind of thanks offering is the first fruits, in which you offer the first of anything you have accomplished. These may be literal first fruits from your garden, for example, or more abstract, such as the first performance of a new song. Also, it may be symbolic representation of the thing if it is impractical to offer the thing itself. Maybe you built a house. One important offering is your own excellence of virtue. We receive our excellence from the gods, which serves to make us like them, and therefore we can give thanks and honor the gods by striving to live up to this potential. How to be excellent, how to seek the gods through prayer and sacrifice. Porphyry writes that we may offer ourselves by a sacrifice, by purifying our mind and understanding and constructing a divine image within our mind, and make a temple in which the God may dwell. And that can be physical, or that can be a real temple, by the way. Build a real temple and house the God, just like my friends in Greece did. Maybe I should show you guys that video real quick, since I can sneak that one in here. It's behind the paywall right now. I have it on for members only, but I guess I'm in the mood to show it. We could show a clip of it, actually. Let's do that. Let's show them the Temple of Pan. How about we do that? All right, so let's share my screen. Someone said, "Nice. We're going to Arcadia, baby. We're going to Arcadia." I filmed this, by the way. This is my camera that I brought to Greece, and these are my pagan friends who I still in contact with, and I'm coming back there. You know, probably sooner than later. Maybe this spring I'll go back there and hang out with them again, and hang out at the Temple of Pan again. But here's the Temple of Pan. I'll show it to you right now. Oh, by the way, he mentions Plethon in this video. You'll see.
Εστιε δυνάτιο, χρόνου φύγατερ βασίλεια, η μέσον οίκον έχεις, πυρός, αενάιο μεγίστου, τους δεσίεν τελετές, οσίους, μίστας, αναδείξας, φύσα Ιθαλέας, όλοι
Damn,
όλους,
really? Action music? That's awesome.
έφρονας, αγνούς,
Isn't it beautiful?
ή και Θεόν μακάρον, θνητών, στήριγμα, κρατεχόν αηδοί, πολύμορφε, ποθηνοτάτη, χλώμορφε, μη διχώσα μακερά, τα διερά, δεξό, προθύμος, χόλμον, επιπνίουσα και υπιόχειρον, υγεία, γέννητο.
I am here in the hills of Arcadia, in the Peloponnese, in Greece, where the Mycenaeans once dwelled. I'm with Evangelos Bexis. He has kindly invited me to a private property in the hills of Arcadia, the land of Pan, where he was arrested for building what was thought to be a temple dedicated to Pan at the behest of the Orthodox Church in.
You know what's interesting is he actually got arrested by the Orthodox Church for actually doing satanic. That's what they called it. They, by the way, these people hate Satanism. They don't worship Satan. They don't say hail Satan. They hail Lucifer because that's an actual, or Eos Phoros, that would say in Greek. Eos Phoros. That might be a thing, but not Satan. But he actually gets arrested for the things people are claiming, not for some shit that happened at a school with kids. You know what I mean? This guy's the real deal.
Greece.
Not the fake one. He actually got under investigation by the church for real this time. He didn't just say he did because he wants to cover up his past, like Amen says. I got investigated by the Catholic Church. I was opening up portals and moving through walls. Yeah, right, dude. You were creeping kids out in school, dude. You were creeping them out. You were stalking them. That's why you got fired.
To find out what happened, why was he arrested, and what is going on between the revival of ancient Hellenism here in Greece and the response by the Christians in power.
Doggo! Those dogs were awesome, by the way. Those dogs were awesome. They live there in Arcadia. Like, they stay there by themselves. They have a neighbor that would walk over and feed them when he's in Athens.
We're here in Arcadia, the land of Pan, and you are bringing back a revival movement of ancient Hellenic religion, pre-Christianity. Tell us about how you got started doing this and why you're doing this.
As you rightly said, Neil, we are in the land of Pan, here in Arcadia and at the location called the land of Pan. Pan is the god of Arcadia. Pan means everything. Everything is the universe. It is essentially a neglected god whose status is located within this space. Where we are standing is where the status of Pan is found. It is a place which, and this is very important, that must to say it was constructed as a storage area because the law dictates this. We did what we had to do. We stored the statue inside the storage space, and externally we made it in every way. We had the right to do. Besides, many homes, thousands of homes, millions of homes around the world, and warehouses are built in a similar way. Wherever you go in Greece and abroad, you will see homes that mimic the ancient Greek style on the outside. That's what we did as well. Or we got a warehouse permit from the urban planning office regularly, and suddenly one day Police unit comes down with a document from the Ministry of Education which stated that if it is determined to be.
So he got arrested. We already know that. I just want to skip ahead to what he says about the Renaissance. And here we go. We're over here.
But there really be continuation of the old ways. For example, a lot of the people from the old faith went underground. Some of them became priests and became crypto-Hellenic, and they were working in the church, but they really were polytheists, Platonists, Pythagoreans. Gemistos Plethon was one of the first people to openly come out and say that.
No, you're right. This was happening, and is still happening today. That is to say, people were forced them because there were persecutions. They killed them, imprisoned them, deprived them of their political rights precisely because of the circumstances, to show another face. But they worked to preserve ancient Greek philosophy and our belief in the gods and goddesses. It indeed happened. Georgios Gemistos Plethon, clearly, who were the main advisor.
We were just talking about him. He brought him up. So you can see the Renaissance, this guy's lasting effects are going all the way down till today. And pagans, the Greeks that are living in Arcadia right now, by the way, that's where Plethon lived, Arcadia. That was his location. That's where he set up his whole entire thing. So his lasting effects are all the way into now. The pagans are still there. They're still doing their thing after Plethon's time.
To Emperor Constantine Paleologos, and was essentially the one who created the Renaissance in Italy when he met Cosimo de' Medici as the Medici. Together with Cosimo, who trusted and established the Platonic Academy of Florence, they created the Renaissance in Italy. Yes, exactly. This boom happened. When did this boom occur? From George Gemistos and his students. So the Renaissance and the Enlightenment were Greek again. After it happened, it was a Greek product. All these things happened because some people kept the flame, the small flame, alive, so that today, in our times, it can light up again. Because this happens not only in Greece, but everywhere abroad, outside Greece. Young people, they are now beginning in this deadlock that society has brought us to seek how we will move forward again and build a better society. And Hellenism, what we call the Hellenism movement, is exactly what will make the difference and does make the difference.
It seems like when we look at history from a macro perspective, Hellenism transformed the world all the way from India all the way to Spain, and everybody was adopting Hellenism. The Romans adopted Hellenism. The world went from the Iron Age to classical period, we call it. Then, after the end of the 3rd, 4th century, things start to get bad. They call it the Dark Ages. And as you just pointed out, when they went back to the Greek side, we get a Renaissance.
Yeah.
What can you say about that?
Exactly as you say. We are now experiencing a new Middle Ages, a technological Middle Ages, and an economic Middle Ages, because technology is very good. But the way it is used, cameras everywhere, Orwellian control. It is the Orwellian society. Everywhere we go, there are cameras. Our data is recorded. There is no freedom. We are living in a new Middle Ages now. We are, therefore, at a point where we must react and create a new Renaissance again, just like in the Greco-Roman world, that continued the tradition of the Greek religion, the Greek way. Subsequently, in the Renaissance, that did exactly the same. And now we must benefit. We all have to, all the citizens of the world, not just the Greeks, all the citizens of the world, work on this and find solutions, because this society is inhumane. There is no respect for humans. There is only a right economy. We are numbers. We are just based on how much money we make, how we work, for a very harsh system that does not promote either philosophy or culture. It only looks at how some can make more money and have more power.
That's
This is
fucking
not
true,
the
dude.
world we deserve.
You're
And
right,
the
you're right.
movement of Hellenism can and does provide clear answers and brings us out. It must get us out of these Middle Ages.
Good point.
The scientific method is attributed to Bacon in the 16th century. But if you read Bacon himself, he credits the Greeks for inductive reasoning, this idea of the logos. And on top of that, just one more little side question, if you can. Christianity in the West adopted Thomism, Aquinas plus Aristotle. In the East, the Greeks did a little bit different. They're more about Plato, where it was more mystical. What is your thoughts on those doctrines and the scientific method?
I'm a Platonist and not an Aristotelian. And the main reason is that,
That's a true
after
Greek
all,
right there.
in the school of Athens, painting by Raphael, where Plato and Aristotle are together, Plato points to the sky and Aristotle points to the earth.
That's
so.
Look at that.
That
Plato's pointing up, Aristotle points down. That's like, because Aristotle is grounded in logic and reason, and he's a scientific, natural philosopher, and Plato is more of a mystical theologian. He's looking up to the heavens, to the gods, and that's very, very true how they depict that.
means that Plato's philosophy is based in the theory of ideas of higher worlds, while philosophy and our connection with it, how we will achieve it through philosophy, and how we will become better people on earth. Whereas Aristotle's philosophy creates so-called boxes without change. Because the world is a world of change. Everything, as Heraclitus says, flows and changes. And as Plato certainly says, and all the Platonists and Neoplatonists, and of course this starts even earlier with the Pythagoreans, and goes to the Orphics. Aristotle comes and brings to the West a great upheaval.
Somebody asked, is that AI? Yes. He's speaking in Greek. He's not a good English speaker, so it wasn't a good interview when I talked to him in English. It just wasn't. It just didn't go smooth. He's not that good at speaking English. So I said, I have an idea. We had the phone out, and it was translating everything he said, speech, sentence by sentence. You'll see little cuts on the screen, and that was when he would stop, and I would listen to what he said, because he's speaking modern Greek, and it's really fast. I can't understand it. So he responded to me in Greek, and then we went to, we used, what's that website called? And everything was translated perfectly. And it even simulates his voice. That's how he sounds. That's how his voice sounds. So it's like, it's literally what he says. It's not. There was a few things when I sent it to him, he was like, that didn't come out right. Change this to this, and I all you gotta do is go into the app and fix it. So 11 Labs, yes, 11 Labs, yeah. So I sent him the copy. He looked at it. He said, "Oh, there's one thing that I didn't say that 11 Labs thinks I said," and we made a couple of changes, and this is the final product. So
mainly, as you correctly said, yes. After all, look at how many conferences are held about Aristotle in the Western world, and how many for Plato. Very few for Plato, and many more for...
By the way, I'm so glad that I decided to do that rather than go with the English, because it was choppy. He was not making a lot of sense. But this makes you can really understand what he's trying to say with 11 Labs. Thank the gods for 11 Labs, dude. Thank Prometheus, dude.
Aristotle. Because Aristotle creates these boxes, was the boxes on which our modern society is based. Everything must be defined, immutable, and in order. In Aristotle, creative chaos does not exist. It is dry logic, not creative. Logic, the kind...
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to go to, let's see. Here are some people I talked to on the street.
Revival of ancient Greek religion that from a time before Christianity.
This revival doesn't bother me at all.
Thoughts on in the land of Pan here in Arcadia, written about by the ancient Greeks. What is your thoughts about
By the way, the people there were so fucking cool, dude. There's this little town. Everyone's getting together for lunch, having coffee. They all know each other. and they're all like a knit family, dude. Look, you can see Bexis in the mirror. He's sitting right there. And he was like, I just, let's go around and talk to people, see what they think about this new revival. So I was like, all right.
The revival of ancient Greek religion that from a time before Christianity.
This revival doesn't bother me at all. And beyond that, after how many years have passed? After 2,500 years. The process of the temple, with the god Pan and with Zeus was revived again. I personally liked it, and from what I hear around our area, it is very good. It took development in some way in the area. Foreigners came, and I think that next time there will be quite a few, even from other areas, from more distant areas of Greece.
And what are the locals around here? What's the sense of their approval or disapproval? What do the locals here think about this?
Yeah, whenever I turn and look in,
And you can hear the girl that I was with translating for me. She was just about to tell him what I said. He didn't understand English, but she did, and she told him my question. We did. That's how we did this. If that makes sense.
The area is clear. We don't all agree 100%, but I think the majority do agree. Most of them agree.
Thank you.
And look, I love the people here in Arcadia. I am also of Arcadian descent. Who made the Parthenon. We are at an altitude of around 1,140 meters.
By the way, this was one of my favorite spots in the whole trip. Not the favorite. I mean, Delphi was unforgettable. Epidaros was unforgettable. That was unforgettable. Corinth was pretty cool. What else did I really like? This location right here, the Temple of Apollo. Look how gigantic the Doric columns are behind us. And this is a temple from like 6th century, 7th century BC. All the way near the border of Sparta. Kind of near Olympia, I guess, in that region. But it's very far south in the Peloponnese. And I can show you where it's at, actually. Apollo Epicurus Temple. Let's see. The Temple of... Is this going to have a map on it? Let me see. No, I'll just keep playing this and I'll find it.
Up, and they came here to build this temple, which was built in the 5th century.
5th century, my bad.
But we have an older temple from at least 800 BC. Here was the statue of Epicurean Apollo.
That's what I meant, yeah.
The Soanon. Soanon is a wooden statue, the original.
That's the original Apollo right there. From 800 BC, that was in that location, the one that I'm showing you, right, the one that I'm standing in. And this is the temple. So this is the place we're at, Temple of Apollo Epicurus. There's no relation to the philosopher at all. That's just the name of the location, or the name of the Apollo epithet. So, and Epicurus is named after this. It's the other way around. So this is not based on Epicureanism or anything like that. By the way, the guy I was with, who was traveling with me, thought that was the case. He's like, I have a question. Epicureans, tell me about Epicurus. And he was like, this is nothing. He looked at him and goes, he looked at me and goes, what is this guy doing? This isn't an Epicurean. He's the epithet of Apollo, dude. It was so funny, dude. It was so, because it was a fine question. He didn't know better. But the response was hilarious. He just looked at him like, no, you're in the wrong century, dude. This has nothing to do with Epicurus. So this is where we were. See where the yellow dot is? So Athens is all the way over here. Delphi is like over here. Or maybe over here, I don't know. Thebes is like right here. Epidaros is here. Olympia is like over here. This is Sparta. We're all the way over here. So... And yeah, that's the temple. It's World Heritage, and it was like, it was on the top of a mountain too. It was really high up, elevation wise. We had to climb up quite a few steps to get there. So,
where it was located, because this temple was probably named Yes, Epicurean Apollo, because Apollo aided, helped, that is the residents of this village, to be saved from an epidemic of plague. And precisely because he healed them, they built this very beautiful temple later, where they called the architect of the Parthenon, Ictinos, to construct it.
What is the meaning of the word Epicurus?
Yes, it's what I said earlier. Epicurean means to help. It means to stand by people. This happened right here at the temple of Epicurean Apollo, which is, as Pausanias the traveler who came here says, the most beautiful temple in the Peloponnese.
What happened to this temple? When did it become out of use? What was this? When did it end? The end of it.
By the way, you can see there 11 labs, for some reason, like redid my voice because it got caught in the same file. I asked the same question, but for some reason, 11 labs just like translated my English into English. It was like weird. I don't know. 11 labs does weird shit.
It always existed. Over the years, it was forgotten, mainly in the early Christian years, it was forgotten. Unfortunately, parts of the temple here were taken and they were made into...
Okay, I wanted to play this clip because he talks about the Satan stuff right here. Satan stuff.
We didn't buy, it's been installed, sighted, installed
In the primary,
the temple from weather conditions.
there are many stories in the ancient primary sources about miracles of healings happening. Is there any particular for this place?
This is what I said before. It's not written with Picurius.
That's not the one I was looking for. I'm looking for the Lucifer one. Here we go, right here.
Find his, because it is.
How do music? Apollo is a god of many things: light, music, healing. What does he represent? Where did Apollo come from? What does he represent?
Yeah. Indeed it is. We can say an absolute God, because in the Orphic hymn of Apollo, we can find his attributes. The most important attribute is the one who brings light. Here we could say that this is sunlight, but it's not just sunlight. It is the light that brings illumination. Iamblichus.
By the way, there were people giving me shit about Lucifer and going, that's not Greek. There was like some weird Greek people that were like modern Greek speakers that were like in the comments of one of my YouTube videos because I played this clip, and they had no idea that in all the Latin texts, all the Latin versions of Homer or whatever, all the Latin side, they used the epithet Lucifer for Apollo and Artemis. Diana, Lucifer. So I showed it to them, and they were just like, "But you're at a Greek temple. You shouldn't use that term. It's too Christian." I was like, "No, I'm taking it back from the Christians. You don't understand. This is not a Christian term. You're dumb, and you just don't know that it's not a Christian term." So I was like, it was satisfying to get that little lick, a couple shots on these people on that. They're stupid. Anyways,
talks about the conduction of light. Here we enter the mystical theurgic part. Iamblichus speaks about the conduction of light and how the initiates could receive the conduction of light through the darkness. Notice what's happening here. Apollo is a solar god, but when he is born in Delos, he is born together with the twin Aphrodite, with his twin sister, who is Artemis. And indeed, Artemis comes out first. Nyx is the beginning because Artemis is connected with the moon. Artemis emerges and helps her mother Leto to also birth Apollo. So we have Nyx, brightness, fire, flame, light, but inside, as Iamblichus says, the teachers of light use darkness as an aid to bring forth the light.
So Apollo and Artemis are twins, light bringers, Phosphorus in Greek or Lucifera in Latin. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes. So
This is
Listen to
important.
what's happening here.
This is important, right? Listen.
Here we need to clarify that the name Eos, which means the light, and Pharaoh, which is a compound word, means the one who brings the light. All right. Pay attention to what happens now. This word in later years during Christian times acquired an incorrect meaning because it became associated with a dark, non-Greek deity, which is the Lucifer. That is,
he said a dark, non-Greek deity, right? Which is the Lucifer. He's talking about the Christian God. So this has nothing to do with Apollo's epithets, Diana's epithets, or even just the singular deity, Lucifer, who brings the dawn every day. That's a total separate thing. They have no relationship at all. Satan isn't Saturn. None of that stuff's real. These people all go by ancient Hellenic polytheism.
the Satan of Judeo-Christianity. So we have two different things. One is the bringer of light, and the other is the one who wants to destroy the light. So one brings the light, Eos for us brings the light, and the other destroys the light. That is, he brings his own light. Look what is happening here now. In the Greek mystery tradition, all the events and ceremonies that take place on the luminous path have been copied from the dark path, which they use for their own purpose and reason. That is, the sun, Helios, becomes Velios, because we have the alternation of P, V, pH. So light becomes beta and becomes Vos and becomes Belius Baal. Thus, the Baal of the Phoenicians, who demands human sacrifices, is a dark entity that misinterprets the light, appropriates it, and creates a dark priesthood that serves the darkness. Look. So then, the one who brings the light, Lucifer, who is also Apollo, is also Prometheus. As Prometheus brings the light to humans, what do people believe? That Prometheus took a torch and brought down the light? No. This light is the inner light, which gives enlightenment and which comes from the awakening, which occurs at this point. What the Eastern religions call Kundalini are the two serpents which rise from the spine and illuminate the brain. That's why Hermes, who brings the word, brings the caduceus with the caduceus. It has two snakes. These two snakes are the inner light, which illuminates the one who is initiated. Thus Apollo, because he is also a god of divination, but at the same time worshipped together with Dionysus. And both of these are secret gods with a vast secret teaching. And I must tell you that at the Oracle of Delphi, the oracle is not only Apollo's, but also Dionysus's. And notice this temple here where we are is the temple of Hyperborean Apollo, which means what? That from here the Apollo leaves to go to Hyperborea. For this reason, the orientation of this temple is not from east to west, as all temples are, but from north to south. This is the very important element we have here.
Friedrich Nietzsche has written in The Birth of Tragedy that he proclaimed the death of God.
So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff in here. And then I also talked to his priestess. Oh, wait, by the way, this is us in Olympia. Look at, I'm in Olympia, where the Olympics were done.
We're standing right here.
Very nice. Dynasty. We know that the sculptures were made by the famous sculptor Leocha. The story goes back a long way. In 776, when the Olympic Games supposedly started,
That's Olympia, baby.
It is not the beginning of the Olympic Games.
This is where the fire of Vesta was lit and stayed lit. That's the temple right behind me, where Vesta's fire was lit and stayed lit for like 1,000 years. Seriously, isn't that crazy? We talked about it in here too.
What you see here is with built by the king of Macedonia, Philip. After a new era begins.
Where exactly are we standing?
We need to explain why only one woman sat there at that spot. It's a throne. She was a priestess of the goddess Artemis. And the reason women didn't sit was because the games were gymnastic. What does that mean? It means the athletes were naked. So, out of modesty towards the women, so they wouldn't see the spectacle, they didn't come in here. However, women held their own Olympic Games. And we have in the Museum of Ancient Olympia depictions of women running in a race who were dressed. Here in this place was only one woman. The woman is the high priestess.
Oh, right there.
Yes,
the high
only
priestess
one
of God.
woman
Judge?
in the Libyan.
She judged or she's wife?
The high priestess of Artemis.
He's
over
not
there.
judged.
The other women, not no, it's not allowed to be here. Why?
By the way, I talked to his priestess at the end.
Exist. So
You're 25. That's very young. When I was 25, I was nowhere near the way you had life figured out. How did you become a high priestess for a movement this important?
I will tell you that for me, there is no such thing as age. Time doesn't exist. So I don't feel like I am 25.
Time doesn't exist. Woo!
Sometimes I feel 25.
That's crazy.
Other times I feel
wisdom right
35. Other times 105. For me, age doesn't exist.
there. Damn.
So I do not believe in it. Now, the terms you used when you called me a priestess, yes, I feel it inside me. I try to become a priestess because I adore the gods and I believe in them. It's not something that you choose. It's something that integrates into your daily life. The universe is telling you to unite with the gods. So anyone who feels the connection can become a priest because they will feel the connection with the gods.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you grew up as an Orthodox Christian. What made you decide to leave that and follow this?
Y alήθεια. Truth. I grew up as an
Aletheia.
Orthodox Christian.
She said aletheia in modern. Aletheia. That was aletheia. That's the same word. Truth.
My parents are Christians. I used to go to church until one day I made a vow to the Virgin Mary. The day I made that vow, on that exact day, I realized something was wrong, that I needed to find the truth.
I didn't know what she said when she said that at first, and I just kind of I didn't hit me till I was editing the video. That exact same thing happened to me. The last church I went to, as I was jumping around a lot of different churches, trying different sects and denominations out, and the last one I went to was a Pentecostal church, and he's like, "Why don't you get baptized again? Maybe we'll start all over." And I went and got baptized, and that was the last time I ever went to church. I got out of the water, and I just remember going, "Nope, I don't believe in this." And walked out and never went back. So her experience is exactly the same as mine. She hear what she said. She did a vow to Mary, and then she realized that she had a different calling.
So the day I made that vow, on that exact day, I realized something was wrong, that I needed to find the truth. So I started searching for what the truth is, and that's why I ended up in Hellenism.
And the ancient world, this is the last question.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's a lot. I want to save some time for other things I have planned here. So that was just some stuff that I wanted to show you that was related to Plethon a little bit, the Renaissance. There's people bringing the Renaissance right now. S. Mill Still, was El the planet Saturn who became Greek in ancient Canaan / Hittites? The first part of the first question is yes. Philo-Biblos preserves Sanchoniathon's text. I wonder if I can find that on here. Philo-Biblos. I wonder if that's on Loeb. No, it's not on Loeb. Let me see. Let's do this then. Philo of Biblos Sancto Nuathan. Do we have a PDF of that? Can we get that? I think we can. Or maybe we got to go to maybe we got to go through what's his name? Hold on, let me find this. Because I want to show people what you're talking about instead of just talking about it, because this is a really interesting topic. Is this it? I think I found a nice little printing of it. Oh, cool. Wait, is this it? I think I found it. Oh, cool. So this is like a really old print of it, but maybe we can find it in here. So, this is the preface, the preface. Let's do this. L. Here we go. So let's keep going. I think it's in here somewhere. Let's do. Maybe I can do Chronos. Maybe that's what it is. Cronus. Chronos. Chronos. Oh man. Saturn. There we go. Okay, cool. Here's what you're talking. We found it. So he says right here, that his son's sacrifice was called Jehud or Judah or Yehud or whatever you want to call it, because he was the only child by his birth with the nymph Anobret. I should go up a little bit. Cronus did this in compliance with an ancient custom of princes do. He's talking about the circumcision, I believe. Oh, up here. Cronos also, about going around the world, gave his own daughter Athena to the kingdom of Attica, but there was a plague and mortality. Cronos made his only son, there's not a word of a lawful wife, but elsewhere, the only son he had was by a nymph called Anobret, a whole burnt offering. So he sacrifices his only begotten son to his father Uranos. And by the way, the burnt offering is how you do the lamb, the atonement, the Leviticus 16 atonement. So that's another interesting parallel there too. He says, and he did this in accordance with the compliance with an ancient custom that such sacrifices were offered, and that also there's some Lutron, I can't read it. Daimonis. It's got some weird Byzantine style Greek here. Antiponton. Oh shit! I just lost that spot. To appease the it's got a translation right here. To appease the avenging daimons, to buy off general destruction. That his son to sacrifice was called Jehud, or Judah, right? Because he was the only child he had with the nymph Anobret. This Chronos, after his death, was consecrated into the planet. That's what you just brought up. Was consecrated into the planet, which was called, to this day, Chronos in Greek and Latin Saturn. Now, this translation is really weird, because if you actually go to the Greek, it doesn't say Chronos. It says El. E-L. I'm sorry. In the Greek, it says Iota El, Il, I-L. But it's the same word. It's Il. It's El in Hebrew. But it says Il. Also going around the world gave his offer. So then he says Il. This El, after his death, was consecrated into the planet, which is called Chronos in Greek and Latin in Saturn. So this translation makes no sense. We already know it's Chronos. Why would you say that? It's El, the original. So I just want people to know that. In the original, it says El. which is the God of the Hebrew Bible, by the way. It just means God in Hebrew. But the god El, after his death, was consecrated into the planet Saturn. So there's a deep connection with Saturn, Kronos, and El. That is 100% true. And Kronos is said to be called Israel by the Phoenicians, whereas throughout all the fragment of the Phoenician history, he is never so called, but Ilus, I-L-U-S. There it is right there, El. That's the Greek conjugation of El. They just add an upsilon sigma at the end. Make it Ilus or Elus, right? So that's El. And it says, and that's that. All right, that's pretty much it. That answers your question, I hope. So thank you for that super chat. We have a 99 cents from Pismood. Thank you for that. Appreciate you very much. And then Martyr's Prayer, lunar left hand, interior, solar right exterior. Hell yeah, dude. Thank you for the $2. Appreciate you. Now, I do want to, we've got a few minutes left. I wanted to talk about the students of Plethon. So when we go to Plethon, let's see. You know, I forgot to do Machiavelli too. So let's take a step off of Plethon for a second. Let's talk about Niccolo Machiavelli. And he's in that same period as Plethon, right? He's actually later. He's a little bit after Plethon. And but he lived during the Renaissance. And the reason why I wanted to bring him up, he's also part of the Florentine school, right? Florence, of course. They're all from Florence. And he wrote this. First of all, he's famous for his The Prince. That's his most famous work. It's political. It's pretty good. I like it. But that's not my favorite for him. My favorite was his book called Discourses on Livy. Discourses on Livy. I have a quick excerpt from Discourses on Livy that I want to show you guys tonight. I think you'll like this. It's very related to everything we've been saying so far as the Renaissance goes, because he says in his works how important it is to take account of religion and how Italy, lacking in religion, thanks to the Roman Church, has been ruined. Oh shit. So this is the Renaissance. You're allowed to be critical of the church now. That's a new thing now. Those princes or republics that wish to maintain their integrity must, above all else, maintain the integrity of their religious ceremonies and must always hold them in veneration, because there can be no greater indication of the ruin of a state than to see disregard for its divine worship. This is easy to understand if one knows how the religion in the place where a man is born has been founded. Because the life of every religion has its foundations in one of its principal institutions. The existence of the pagan religion was founded upon the responses of the oracles and the sect of diviners and soothsayers. All the other ceremonies, sacrifice, and rites depended upon them because they simply believed that the God who could predict your future, and I think he says to go on, it would guide you in the right direction, right? So the oracle, right? The Pythia, the Sibyl. He's basically saying the church has ruined it, dude. We're done. We don't have religion anymore. We're in a state of non-divinity. Like we're no longer in contact with the God. They're gone. This is like a proto-Nietzsche, if you think about it. He's saying God is dead. That's what he's saying here. He's saying God is dead, we killed him. That's what he's saying. We killed him. So Nietzsche definitely gets an A+ from. I'm sorry, Machiavelli gets an A+ from me. I like him a lot. So, all right, let's see what else we can find here. So you have the students of Plethon. which are listed in here, I believe, pretty quickly. The ones that I really wanted to get to show, which is everyone knows Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael. We can show those guys in a second, but I really wanted to show you the students, the direct students of Plethon, which is, where is it? Here, I can just do this. First up, we already talked about her. I meant to do this. First up, Cosimo Medici. We mentioned him already, but he's the one who is the student of Plethon who started the school. So he starts the school, the Florentine Academy, and as a result of that, you get Donatello's David, the famous David sculpture, this one right here. You get, you get, what else do you get out of this? Who's this? Fury. You also get where is it? Arts. Here we go. Judith slaying Holofernes is a famous one. Let's see. So I don't know. They don't have a lot of the works on here. I thought they were going to show some of the works that Medici produced, but anyways, basically the whole gist of it is you get Da Vinci and Raphael and Donatello and Ficino and all these guys, right? So, Plethon students, let's go to Plethon now. Plethon students are, most notably, Bessarion and George Scholarius. These are one of them's Latin West, and no, I think these are both Greek, actually. I'm sorry. But the most, the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm forgetting about Cardinal Bessarion. Yeah, Bessarion's, that's right here. Okay, this is what I meant. Perfect. So this guy right here, Bessarion, was a cardinal in the church, and he was, okay, I was right. He was Catholic. I don't know why I thought he said Eastern. Okay, so yeah, he was a cardinal in the Catholic Church, and he was a direct student of Plethon. Look at that. And he later served as the Patriarch of Constantinople. You know how big of a deal that is? This is the highest you can get in the church, other than being the Pope. Seriously. He's created cardinal by Pope Eugene. And look at this. Look what they say about him. He's a Neoplatonist. What? Are you telling me that you could be Catholic and a Neoplatonist at the same time? Yes, I am telling you that. In fact, they're completely compatible. Completely compatible. I think Christianity owes everything to Platonism, in my opinion. So he went on in 1423 to study under Gennadius Plethon, as we just talked about. He went through the liberal arts curriculum with a special emphasis on mathematics, the study of astronomy and geography related to philosophy to physics, and Pythagorean number mysticism. This guy was straight up trained in paganism. Plato's cosmological geometry, Neoplatonic arithmetic, which connected the material world with the world of Plato's forms. Plus, possibly included astrology. So he had a mystical streak and was proficient in Neoplatonic vocabulary, mathematics, and Platonic theology. So why is that a big deal? Because look what everyone wants to say. Look what the church did in the 15th, 16th century. They gave us the arts. They gave us all these beautiful churches and buildings and cathedrals. And I'm trying to tell you, no. That was because of pagans. That was because of pagans getting involved in the church and saying, we need arts, we need music, we need architecture, we need paintings, we need sculptures, we need civilization, we need laws, we need culture, we need plays, we need literature, we need fucking whatever, grammarians, all that. Bring it all back. We used to have it back in the day. 300, 200 BC, we had all that shit. What are we doing? Why are we fucking sitting here doing nothing and praying all day? This is not the way to live, dude. The world's not going to come to an end. It's been 1,000 years now, and you're still waiting for revelation to happen, and it's not going to happen. So we need to worry about this world, not the next world. This world. Build it. Build it here. Build it now. They figured it out. They figured it out that it's all about this world. Just as Homer tells you, when you read the Iliad and the Odyssey, you realize it's not about Hades. It's about the world. It's about leaving your mark on this world. It's about making your legacy. It's about setting up a better world for the future of the children behind you. That's what it's about. It's about creating culture for your descendants to follow so that they can honor you and your other ancestors and keep you immortal. That's what it's about. It's not about giving up everything and cursing the world and waiting for heaven to come and save you. That's not it. It's not the answer. And they figured it out, and that's what the Renaissance is. And so that was one of his students. The other student, that's in the West. He influences the West and he influences the East. Because his other star student is the literal Patriarch of Constantinople. I mean, it's like the equivalent of the Pope of Rome. You have the Pope of Rome and you have the Patriarch of Constantinople. They're equally powerful. They're equally powerful. And this is the Pope of the East. And what is he? He's literally a student of Plethon, advocating for Aristotelian philosophy in the Orthodox Church. So notice how there's a reversal. Plethon knew that there was too much Aristotelianism happening in the West. They need Plato. Bring them Plato. Get them Plato. Fix them. He also knew that the East was too fucking Platonic, and they need Aristotle. So what does he do? Bring them Aristotle. And then you see like a flipping of the poles happen, and it brought, it's just fascinating to watch that. He was around for the fall of Constantinople, right? I mean, he's literally in office right after 1454. So let's see. It says right here that recommended him to study under his own previous master, Gennadius Plethon. His studies under Plethon are a matter of speculation. At any rate, would have been more likely to attend Plethon's lectures at Maestros. And that's right near Arcadia, by the way. See? So that's where Plethon's school was at, right in Arcadia, right in Maestros. Gennadius had been a teacher of philosophy before entering the service of John Paleologus, theological advisor. So you could see, look at this. He says, at the same council, the celebrated Platonist Gennadius Plethon, the most powerful opponent of the dominant Aristotelianism, consequently an antagonist of Gennadius, in church matters as in philosophy, the two were opposed. Plethon advocated a partial return to Greek paganism in the form of a syncretic union between Christianity and Zoroastrianism. I don't know if I think there's a reason why they say citation needed there. I don't know if he really wanted to unite He doesn't say anything about Christianity in his works. He doesn't care about Christianity. I've read all of Plethon's works. He doesn't talk about Christianity. And it's other sources that talk about him that say that he hated Christianity. The people around him know that. He rejects it. Anyways, Gennadius more cautious pressed the necessity for ecclesiastical union with Rome. So they agreed on that. They both wanted to bring the church together. Anyways, I'm just showing you some of the fruits of the labor of Plethon. That's what I'm trying to do here. So that's another one. And then you have Then you have Beatrice d'Este, and this is a very fascinating person right here, because she's from a very ancient family that some people think is related to the Julio-Claudian dynasty. She's related to the Caesars of the first century. This girl right here. So she's super high level aristocrat, royalty, like marrying princes left and right type shit. This guy right here. She marries this guy, Sforza, the arbiter of Italy. Duke of Milan, Regent of Milan, super powerful man, right? So what is she doing? Well, oh, look at this, marriage proposals, negotiations. They're all trying to marry this girl. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. What is she doing? A double wedding between Beatrice and Ludovico was planned. Finally, around a year later, Sforza Este wedding was held. Ludovico wed Beatrice and her brother Alfonso to Anna Sforza. Leonardo da Vinci organized the wedding celebration. So you look at that. This girl is like hanging out with Leonardo da Vinci. He's organizing her wedding celebration. If you don't think she's involved in all this, you're not paying attention. In Milan, Beatrice met two people who would become important in her life: Bianca Giovanni Sforza, her husband's 9-year-old illegitimate daughter. Let's see. What else did she do? I know there's some stuff in here that's pretty good. Pranks. Hold on a second. How do you spell Renaissance? All right. Sorry about that. Hold on a second. Wait, there's nothing in here about her Renaissance? That's weird. Because I had the book that I'm reading right now is talking about her left and right as like one of the bringers of the Renaissance. I'll show you right now. I thought the Wikipedia would have more information, and I guess it doesn't. But you can see there's a whole chapter on after you got Michelangelo, young Michelangelo, and then right after him it says Leonardo da Medici, and then you got Doge Francesco Foscari, and then last but not least, chapter 19, you have Beatrice Isabella d'Este, and it says one of the most ancient dynasties in Italy, had dominated Ferrara, a strategic area between Lombardy, Venice, and Emilia, broad, luxuriant valley of the Po. Since the 13th century, they belonged to the Guelph party. For centuries, had fought the Ghibellines in defense of the church, and even fought the church on those occasions when the popes had sought to meddle unduly in the affairs. But it says that she was like a big patron of the arts and was part of the reason why Milan would flourish. And they brought like the Florentine culture to Milan. So it says right here, Isabella returned to Rome in 1525 and shared in the final days of that tempered, cultivated Christian paganism that was to be shattered by the brutal impact of the Lutheran gangs, German Lutheran fuckers, from Frundsberg. Rome had received her gloriously in the time of Leo X, and now, under Medici, Clement VII welcomed her again. And again, Isabella stood firm in her loyalty to Mantua and to the Gonzaga, who had often betrayed her. Thanks to her subtly modulated tactics, she succeeded in securing the red hat for the second son, Ercole, only a few days before the dreadful pillage of the city began. I don't know. It's just basically she's into paganism shit. That's what it says. She's a Renaissance person, man. They're all into that. So, most rare phoenix, the humanist called her, reviving the worn image to honor her, but more than that, a most rare woman. Yet why does posterity remember her? In both her marriage and maternity, she was sorely disappointed. Emotionally hers as she survived thanks to her individuality, to the awareness of self. She sustained with all the force of conviction of style. It was a style fashioned by the mind. It was effective alliance of idea and action, characterized Isabella's life and her death, February 13, 1539. All right, that was just one of the people I wanted to talk about. That's just one of them. So, who else do we got? Let's see. And this is the last one. Last but not least, we got Pope Alexander the Seventh. Now this, you might, if you watch, what is it? Showtime? They have a whole show about the Borgia family. Borgias. It's called the Borgias. Let's see if I can find, down here is probably going to say, yeah, this right here. There's a whole, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of movies about these people. Because there's so many crazy stories about them. So this is the good one right here, the 2011 Borgia, this one. This is really good. And the girl who plays, this girl right here, she plays Lucretia Borgia. Oh my God. Oh my God. You can't get your eyes off the TV, dude. She's fucking phenomenal. She's phenomenal. A+++++. A+++++. For her role as Lucretia Borgia. And what an iconic person this is right here, Lucretia Borgia. She's like known to be like into alchemy and shit, and like I don't know, she's into like herbs, and see, look, it's got the painting, she's holding up some flowers. She's got the wreath on her head. Oh, and one of her husbands was related to the other girl we just talked about, Dieste. So you can see this is like royal families all sticking together. This is the aristocracy of the Renaissance, basically. And they're the ones controlling the culture, if you think about it. Maybe not all the way. The people at the bottom kind of have a lot of say in how culture is dictated too. But because they're the ones who accept or deny trends, so there's sort of a back and forth. But the trends are usually set up top with the aristocracy in this time period. And so you need Renaissance bringers. You need someone to come and say, put their foot down and go against the grain of the culture of the time period, a gadfly, if you will. So that's who she is. And then you have her father, Pope Alexander. Now check this out, right? In the papal election, this is nuts, dude. In the papal election of 1458, Rodrigo Borgia was too young to seek the papacy himself. He sought to support a cardinal who would maintain him as vice-chancellor. Borgia was one of the deciding votes in the election. Cardinal Pope Pius II, and the new pope rewarded Borgia only with maintaining his consulship. In 1460, Pope Pius rebuked Cardinal Borgia for attending a private party that Pius had turned into an orgy. Borgia apologized for the incident, but denied that there had been an orgy. Hold on, that's not the one I'm thinking of. There's one that's way worse than this. There's a story that actually is like confirmed orgy. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. There's a Medium article about it. This is definitely true though. Like this is not. This is confirmed. Like, historians agree this has actually happened. One of the most famous orgies in history was held by former Cardinal Cesare Borgia at the Papal Palace in 1501. It was referred to as the Banquet of Chestnuts. Maybe I could find Banquet of Chestnuts. Yes, found it. All right, let's get rid of this article. We can end on this. We can talk about this and do a couple of super chats and finish this off. So, Banquet of Chestnuts right here. This is the Renaissance getting a little out of control. That's what we're gonna end on. So we have a primary source from Burchard, who was the court historian of Pope Alexander. What does he say? So this is a primary source who was there when it happened. This isn't some guy 20 years later. This is a primary source. He says, on the evening of the last day of October, 1501, Cesare Borgia, who's the Pope, by the way, Pope Alexander, that's his real name, is Cesare Borgia, arranged a banquet in his chambers in the Vatican with 50 honest prostitutes, quote, called courtesans, who danced after dinner with the attendants and others who were present, at first in their garments, then naked. After dinner, the candelabra with burning candles were taken from the tables and placed on the floor, and chestnuts were strewn around with naked courtesans which they picked up, creeping on hands and knees between the chandeliers, while the Pope, Cesare, and his sister Lucretia, that's the girl I was just telling you about, looked on. They're all sitting there eating and chilling and drinking, and they're all watching these prostitutes pick up chestnuts with their hoo-has. Finally, prizes were announced for those who could perform the act most often with the courtesans, such as tunics of silk, shoes, and berets. Both contemporary and modern authors have questioned the accuracy. Two independent contemporary sources confirm that a social event occurred on the date given by Burchard. So people are like, well, he might have made up some details. I don't know. What's the reason? Why? Oh, of course the Catholic Church would never do such a thing. Oh, come on, dude. We have a primary source, dude. We have a primary source. Look at this. Johann Burchard, look at. He literally lived, 1450 to 1506. An Elastian-born priest and chronicler during the Italian Renaissance. He spent his career at the papal courts of Sixtus V or IV, Innocent VIII, Alexander VI, that's the guy, and he continued to be there afterwards, all the way up till Julius. So why are we just not listening to primary sources now? Oh my God, the Catholic Church would never do such a thing. Shut up. It did happen. And you know it. And there's a primary source that proves it. It's only attested in one source, so it can't be real. What about the crucifixion? There's no primary sources for that. It's written 40, 50 years later. Oh, of course, but that's different. Yeah, okay. You guys you just don't like it. This is what happened, dude. This is literally what happened. That's literally what happened in the Vatican. The Pope's dinner. I know. Look, I know. It's the Renaissance, man. The Renaissance can get out of control, man. It can get out of control. I get it. I understand that. That's what happens. You got to contain it. You got to have an Apollonian. The Dionysian can get too out of control. You gotta tame it with the Apollonian. You might want to have more Apollonian than Dionysian, just a little bit more, just to keep it at bay. So, We got a $5 super chat from What's Poppin' DK5, D5K. It is fascinating how the culture with so much beauty, wisdom, and depth got brainwashed into Christianity. Think about this every day, my friend. Think about this every day, my friend. It actually makes a lot more sense when you take into account the crisis of the 3rd century. So, if you really want to understand what happened, how does this Greco-Roman world of antiquity, with all these great philosophers and musicians and artists and playwriters, how does it become medieval Italy? How does that happen? Well, there was a big crisis of the 3rd century, and Rome pretty much was never the same ever again. It just and as a result, the culture shifted into more of a universalist, pleb first mentality, which we kind of live under right now. It's just the way our world is. It's our reality. It's what we live under. So, or how Persia was taken over by Islam. Yeah, same concept. The Great Persian Empire taken over by Islam. It's the same concept, and it shows you how important culture is, man. How culture is really important. Anyways, thank you for your super chat. PsyOp Science, thank you for the $5. They were okay. They still got trounced by the Romans. Are you talking about the Byzantines? Because they did. You're talking about 1204, sack of Constantinople. You guys know about 1204? I think that's what PsyOp Science is referring to. In 1204, the Fourth Crusade happened. You were thinking, well, what's the Fourth Crusade? Did they go after some Muslims? No! They went after other Christians. The Crusaders, the Latin Crusaders, along with the Republic of Venice, they went and sacked the Byzantines and took over Constantinople for 20 years. And it became the Latin Empire, the establishment of the Latin Empire. Look at this. The Latin East. It stayed there, I don't know how long it was, 20 years? 1204, like 50 years. That was a long time. And then they got taken back over by the Byzantines, the Paleologus dynasty, the one that I was just talking about, the Renaissance dynasty. They really put shit back together. I like this dynasty. It's my favorite Byzantine dynasty all day. Paleologus dynasty, my favorite dynasty. They're the best. And they're the ones that ruled all the way to the end. They deserved it. They took it back from those filthy Latins. They did. That's just what happened, man. Crazy times. Thank you for that super chat. What about Shakespeare? Does he count? Well, I mean, it's a lot later. Shakespeare is 17th century. He's around. That is another Renaissance in itself, though, that needs to be discussed. Is the English early 17th century explosion. See, look, he lives in the 17th century. That's a little bit later. It's not that far away, though. 150 years later. I mean, it's a whole different time period now. So I would say Shakespeare is a indirect product of what we've been discussing in this video all day long, because he is also going back to paganism and writing plays about. He's talking about the muse, and it's all there. Shakespeare is definitely an initiate of the ancient rites, if you want to say that. He is totally he's total gnosis, dude. He's totally. There's a lot to say about Shakespeare, but like I said, it's a lot later, so I don't really consider it part of this conversation. It's close, though. I can see what you're going at. But this time period, man, this Elizabethan time period, or I guess even the Jacobean time period as well, I guess this might even be even bigger, is just unbelievable. I mean, England conquers the whole world at this time. They ascend beyond they're just like England is just the shit at this time period. There's nothing can come close to England in the 17th century. This is just the truth, man. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not, And then last super chat, where can we get the rest of the Plethon Slides? Good question. Let me send this link in the chat right now, so you guys can have that. Here's the link in the chat. I'm gonna put it in the comments too.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll put it in the description.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that's it. So there you go. There is the oh wait, I just realized that might not be. Let me know if that opens up for you guys. Yeah, it does. Yeah, there you go. There's your Plethon, and let me pin the message, and I'll also leave it in the comments and in the description. Thank you for reminding me, Esmil, before I closed out. I'm glad you reminded me of that. So if anyone wants to finish the Plethon Slides, links in the description or in the comments. You can find them in any spot. So that's it for tonight. I worked out today, so I'm tired, and ran 5 miles too. So I'm getting back in shape. So you have just attained true gnosis.
You have just attained true gnosis. The demiurge has no power over you.